not just a political decision. It was a human catastrophe. Much like civilians of Iran who now find themselves uprooted, millions in the subcontinent were forced to abandon their homes, lands, and identities, that too overnight. Both movements, separated by decades and geography, speaks to the enduring tragedy for how political decision and power struggle can fracture the societies and leaving ordinary people to bear the heaviest burden. So the year 1947 stands as one of the most defining moments in South Asian history. It was the year when India gained independence from British colonial rule, but it also the year when the subcontinent was violently divided into two nations, India and Pakistan. This partition was not merely a political act of drawing borders. It was a human tragedy of an unimaginable scale. So today we are actually, as the new documentaries revisit this chapter, they bring fresh voice and forgotten stories, reminding us that the echoes of 1947 still actually there in the hearts, in the mind, across the generations. Partition uprooted nearly 15 million people, making it one of the largest forced migration in human history. Families who had lived side by side for centuries suddenly found themselves on the opposite side of hastily drawn borders. Villages were split, friendships were dissolved, and the communities tore apart. The documentaries highlights not just the statistics, but the lived experience, like the grandmother who carries her infants across the burning field, the young man who lost his entire family on a train to Lahore, the child who never understood why neighbors turn into enemies overnight. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will determine the reach of our channel. So going forward on this topic, so the violence was actually staggering. Estimation actually suggests that up to 1 million lives were lost in communal riots, massacres, and retaliatory killing. The documentaries do not shy away from these horrors. They show how train arrived at station filled not with the passenger but the corpses, and they recount how women bore the bunch of violence, subjected to abductions and assault, and their suffering often silenced in official narratives. By revisiting these stories, filmmakers are not only documenting history but also challenging the silence that has long surrounded these wounds. Yet, in the amid of this devastation, there are also stories of extraordinary humanity, like Hindu and Muslim Sikhs who risk their lives to protect neighbors of another faith, ordinary villagers who formed a human chain to shield women and children. And these acts of compassion remind us that the partition was not only about division, it is also about resilience, courage, and stubborn persistence of hope. The documentaries also explore the political dimensions of partition. They revisit the hurried negotiation between leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and the Lord Mountbatten. And they questions whether the division was inevitable or whether it was a product of colonial haste and political miscalculations. So they also highlight how these border line drawn in just 5 weeks, carved through the homes, rivers, and field, with a little regard for human consequences. In doing so, they invite viewers to reflect on the long shadow of colonialism and the kind of fragility of nation building. So, as we close this retelling of 1947, it is impossible not to see the parallel with the conflict unfolding in Iran today. Just as the partition tore apart the families and villages and villagers and centuries of coexistence, the war in Iran are displacing communities, fracturing identities, and leaving scars that will echo for the generation. The lesson of partition is not confined to South Asia. It is universal reminder of how political decision drawn hastily or imposed violently can unravel the fabric of the society. The borders carved in 1947 create wounds that still shape India and Pakistan. In Iran, the battle of today are shaping future in the way that will remembered decades from now. So, by revisiting partition, we are also not only honoring the memories of those who suffered, but also urging ourselves to recognize the human cost of division, whether it occurs whatever and wherever it occurs. The echoes of 1947 remind us that the history is not a distinct past. It is a living force reflecting in the struggles of people across the world. If we listen closely, the cries of displaced family in Iran today carries the same resonance as those who fled across this border line, which was created by political decision in 1947. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of this retelling is their focus on memories and identity. Partition was not just a historical event. It becomes a defining marker of identity for millions. So for those who crossed the borders, the trauma was carried into their children and the grandchildren. Even today in India and Pakistan, partition shapes the politics, culture, and collective memory. The documentaries capture this intergenerational transmission of trauma, showing how the past refused to remain buried. So ultimately, the echoes of 1947, when we are talking about this, the India's partition retold is not just about the revisiting the part. It is also listening to the voices that were silenced, acknowledging the pain that was ignored, and the recognition of humanity that endured against all odds. It is a call to remember not to reopen the wound, but to ensure that such tragedies are never repeated. The echoes of 1947 remind us that the history is not distinct, it is living within us, shaping who we are and how we imagine our future. And also, the retelling of partition is more than remembrance. It's also a call to empathy, to vigil and to be vigilant, and to ensure that the tragedies of the yesterday do not become inevitable for tomorrow. So please send us your comments, subscribe to our channel for more insights in Indian spirituality and politics and the history and of course the mythology. So see you in the next one.
हेलो दोस्तों, नमस्कारम। आपका स्वागत है। कभी आपने सोचा है कि ब्लैक होल के अलावा भी ब्रह्मांड में कुछ ऐसा है जो हमारे विज्ञान, हमारी फिजिक्स को पूरा बदल सकता है? इस वीडियो में हम जानेंगे ग्रेविस्टार के बारे में और हम इसकी चर्चा करेंगे कि क्यों एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स के दुनिया में ये हमेशा एक चर्चा का विषय है। अक्सर हमने सुना है कि एक विशाल तारा जब उसका एंड होता है, दी एंड, तो वो ब्लैक होल में बदल जाता है। लेकिन कभी आपने सुना है कि हो सकता है कि वो ग्रेविस्टार में बदल जाए और ब्लैक होल ना बने? तो ये ग्रेविस्टार क्या चीज़ है? और ऐसा क्यों बोला जाता है कि ग्रेविस्टार एक कोलैप्सिंग स्टार है जो एक मिनी यूनिवर्स का निर्माण कर सकता है? तो काफ़ी दिलचस्प वीडियो होने वाला है। चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं और इसकी चर्चा करते हैं। तो दोस्तों, जब हम अंतरिक्ष के बारे में सोचते हैं, उसकी विशालता के को देखते हैं, तो अक्सर हमें लगता है कि जो सितारे हैं, जो स्टार्स हैं, वो एक लाइट का सोर्स हैं और एक कोई बड़ा स्टार अपने अंत समय में पहुंचता है, वो उसकी डेथ होती है, तो वो ब्लैक होल में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है। और हमारी एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स में इसके बारे में काफ़ी डिटेल में एक्सप्लेनेशन है, हमारे फॉर्मूलाज से, रिलेटिविटी की थ्योरी से एक्सप्लेन किया गया है। लेकिन हाल ही में कुछ ऐसा देखने को मिला है कि जब ये बड़ा स्टार का दी एंड होता है, सुपरनोवा हाइपरनोवा में जब तब्दील होता है, तो उसके बाद वो कई दफ़ा ब्लैक होल नहीं छोड़ता है। वो एक नए तरीके का, जिसके बारे में हम कम जानते हैं, एक नए तरीके का एक ब्लैक होल की तरह ही एक नया एक छोड़ता है, एक आइटम छोड़ता है जिसका नाम है ग्रेविस्टार। अब उसके नाम से ही पता चलता है कि इससे ग्रेविटी से कुछ लिंक होगा। तो इस ग्रेविट स्टार बोलते हैं इसको, ग्रेविस्टार, जो स्टैंड करता है ग्रेविटेशनल वैक्यूम स्टार। मतलब ये एक नए तरीके का ये एक जानवर है जो ग्रेविटेशनल वैक्यूम स्टार होता है, जिस जो ब्लैक होल से भिन्न होता है। ब्लैक होल क्या करता है? हर चीज अपनी तरफ खींचता है ग्रेविटी की वजह से, लेकिन ये ग्रेविटेशनल वैक्यूम स्टार बन जाता है। और अगर ये प्रूव हो जाए या हमें ग्रेविस्टार कहीं दिख जाए, ऐसा देखने में आ रहा है कि कई जगहों पे जो हमारी साइंटिफिक थियरीज है वो ये कह रही हैं कि यहाँ पे ये ब्लैक होल नहीं है, बल्कि एक ग्रेविस्टार है। तो लेकिन इस पे शोध चल रहा है। तो अगर ये प्रूव हो जाए कि ग्रेविस्टार होता है, तो हमारे ब्रह्मांड की समझ पूरी की पूरी बदल जाएगी। तो दोस्तों, आगे बढ़ने से पहले मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आप किस शहर से हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं और किस लैंग्वेज में हमारा इस वीडियो को देख रहे हैं। इससे हमें मदद मिलेगी अपने वीडियो की पहुंच को असेस करने के लिए। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। जो जो स्टार का एंड क्यों होता है? क्योंकि वो अपना जो ईंधन होता है, जिसका जो ईंधन होता है, वो हाइड्रोजन, हीलियम या कोई भी एलिमेंट उनको कंबाइन करता है और उससे वो फ्यूजन रिएक्शन होता है, जिससे काफ़ी हीट प्रोड्यूस होती है और एक बैलेंसिंग एक्ट की तरह काम करता है कि उसके कोर में हीट प्रोड्यूस होती है जो ग्रेविटी को बैलेंस करती है, ग्रेविटी को अलाउ नहीं करती है कि पूरे स्टार को कोलैप्स होने दे। तो वो अंदर से एक टग ऑफ वॉर चलता है और ये करोड़ों साल तक चलता रहता है। लेकिन एक दिन ऐसा आता है जब पूरे की पूरी जो उसकी जो मटेरियल है वो कंज्यूम हो चुका होता है और उसकी एक लिमिट होती है जो होती है आयरन। आयरन का पीरियोडिक टेबल पे जो नंबर है वो 60 है। मतलब कि जो 60 अगर उसमें आयरन बन गया उसके कोर के अंदर, तो उसके बाद 60 आयरन के जो एटम्स हैं अगर कंबाइन करेंगे तो कितना आता है दोस्तों? 120। तो 120 जो एलिमेंट है वो एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है हमारी पीरियोडिक टेबल के ऊपर, मतलब नेचर में एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है। तो वो आयरन जो है वो आगे कंबाइन नहीं हो पाता है। तो उसकी वजह से जो ग्रेविटी है उस स्टार की वो टेक ओवर कर लेती है और इंस्टेंटली विद इन 1 सेकेंड, मतलब 30%, 30 माइक्रो सेकेंड के अंदर वो पूरा का पूरा स्टार कोलैप्स हो जाता है और सुपरनोवा में तब्दील हो जाता है। और जब वो ऐसा करता है तो जो कोर होता है स्टार का वो इतनी जो उसको उसको इतने ज़्यादा किक मिलती है कि वो कोलैप्स हो जाता है ब्लैक होल के अंदर, और जो बाहर वाला जो उसका जो लेयर है स्टार की वो बाहर की तरफ एक्सप्लोड कर जाती है, जिसको हम सुपरनोवा बोलते हैं। लेकिन जो बचता है वो एक सिंगुलैरिटी है। मतलब सिंगुलैरिटी मतलब कि उसके अंदर उस हमारी फिजिक्स फेल हो जाती है। उस वो इतना छोटा होता है कि हम उसको मेजर ही नहीं कर सकते। उसकी डेंसिटी इनफाइनाइट हो जाती है, उसकी स्पेस ज़ीरो हो जाती है। तो ये चीज़ें इन्फिनिटीज़ में पहुंच जाती हैं, जिसलिए हम उसको बोलते हैं सिंगुलैरिटी। हाँ, हालांकि सिंगुलैरिटी आज तक प्रूव नहीं हो पाई है, बट वो एक मैथमेटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट बन के रह गई है। क्योंकि हम ब्लैक होल के अंदर देख नहीं सकते, तो इसलिए हमें ये पता नहीं होता कि ब्लैक होल के अंदर क्या है। 2001 में वैज्ञानिकों ने ये देखा कि सिंगुलैरिटी नहीं होती है और कई दफ़ा सिंगुलैरिटी ना होके ब्लैक होल की बजाय एक ग्रेविस्टार का जन्म होता है इस प्रोसेस के बाद। तो ग्रेविस्टार का मतलब क्या है? ग्रेविटेशनल वैक्यूम स्टार। अब कल्पना करें कि एक बहुत बड़ा जो स्टार है वो कोलैप्स कर रहा है और ब्लैक होल बनने के बजाय एक बहुत ही सख्त एक ट्रांसपेरेंट शेल में कन्वर्ट हो रहा है। मतलब ब्लैक होल तो इंटरनल जाता है, लेकिन ये शेल के अंदर अंदर क्या है उसके अंदर हमें पता नहीं, लेकिन बाहर का जो आवरण है वो एक ट्रांसपेरेंट शेल बन जाता है और उसके बाद वो स्टेबल हो जाता है। उसके अंदर का जो हिस्सा होता है वो वैक्यूम होता है, उसके अंदर वैक्यूम होता है, बाहर एक ट्रांसपेरेंट शेल होता है, एक गुब्बारे की तरह होता है। बाहर ठोस परत होती है, अंदर एकदम खाली होता है, लेकिन सामान्य खाली नहीं होता है, उसके अंदर डार्क एनर्जी होती है, डार्क एनर्जी से भरा होता है। और इस मॉडल को एक सिंगुलैरिटी की आवश्यकता नहीं होती। मतलब अगर स्टार पूरा कोलैप्स हो जाए तो उसमें सिंगुलैरिटी चाहिए हमारे मैथमेटिकल जो फॉर्मूलेज हैं उनको स्टेबल करने के लिए। लेकिन अगर ग्रेविट स्टार है तो उसमें सिंगुलैरिटी नहीं है, अंदर सिर्फ डार्क एनर्जी है और बाहर से उसमें एक ट्रांसपेरेंट एक बहुत ही हार्ड एक शेल है। और ग्रेविस्टार अगर बने अब हमें मिल जाए तो ये हमें जनरल रिलेटिविटी और क्वांटम फिजिक्स में एक सिमिलरिटी भी हमें जो प्रदान करता है, जो आज की डेट में हम दोनों के अंदर जो सामंजस्य है वो ढूंढ नहीं पाए हैं। क्योंकि जो क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स है वो अपनी तरह से चलता है, उसके अपने फॉर्मूलाज हैं, और जो रिलेटिविटी है वो अपनी तरीके से चलता है, उसके अपने मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूलाज हैं। जब दोनों को मिलाते हैं तो हमारी फिजिक्स फेल हो जाती है। तो यही होता है सिंगुलैरिटी में। तो हम काफ़ी हमारे जो साइंटिस्ट हैं वो करीब 100 साल से 120 सालों से इन दोनों के बीच में सामंजस्य लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो ग्रेविस्टार एक ऐसा एक हाइपोथेटिकल वो एक ऑब्जेक्ट है यूनिवर्स में जो इन दोनों के बीच में सिमिलरिटी ला सकता है और उनके जो हमारी जो फिजिक्स है उसको भी कंप्लीट कर देता है। तो अब ये है कि ग्रेविस्टार कहाँ पे पाया जाता है। अब कई दफ़ा बोला जाता है कि ग्रेविस्टार हमारे जो गैलेक्सी का जो सेंटर है वो एक ग्रेविस्टार है। ऐसा बोला जाता है कि वो एक ग्रेविस्टार है और एक ब्लैक होल है, या एक ब्लैक होल और ग्रेविस्टार दोनों ही वहाँ मौजूद होते हैं, ऐसा बोला जाता है। इस पर रिसर्च चल रही है, इन दोनों चीज़ों को प्रूव करने की बहुत ही ज़्यादा कोशिश चल रही है। अब आप देखिए कि अगर इसके अंदर एक ट्रांसपेरेंट एक कवर है और अंदर सिर्फ डार्क एनर्जी है, तो इसका मतलब कि अंदर एक पूरा छोटा एक ब्रह्मांड है, इसके अंदर एक पूरा मिनी यूनिवर्स है जिसके अंदर डार्क एनर्जी भी होगा, डार्क मैटर भी होगा, और इसके अंदर प्लैनेट्स होंगे, गैलेक्सीज होगा। तो ये जो ग्रेविस्टार है ये एक ग्रेविटेशनल एक फोर्स बन जाता है, लेकिन वो ब्लैक होल की तरह सिंगुलरिटी नहीं बनता, बल्कि एक मिनी यूनिवर्स बन जाता है उसके अंदर। और जो अंदर उसके जो लोग रहते हैं या जो ग्रह होते हैं उनको नहीं पता होता कि बाहर क्या है। वो शेल के बाहर नहीं देख सकते। जो शेल होता है वो ट्रांसपेरेंट होता है, लेकिन उसके बाहर वो जहाँ उनके देख नहीं सकते, क्योंकि शेल पे स्पीड ऑफ लाइट होती है, जो आपको पता होगा ब्लैक होल के जो फॉर्मूलाज हैं वो उसमें लगते हैं। तो ग्रेविस्टार अगर सच में मौजूद है, अभी तक हमारे पास कोई सीधा प्रमाण नहीं है, लेकिन सिर्फ मैथमेटिकल एक प्रमाण हो सकता है, जो एक अनुमान लगाया जा सकता है, क्योंकि इन चीज़ों को देखना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, दिखाई नहीं देते, कुछ भी वहाँ से रेडिएशन बाहर आता नहीं है। जब तक कुछ आता नहीं है बाहर, हम उसको देख नहीं सकते। तो दोस्तों, ये एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है, इसके पीछे काफ़ी शोध किया जा रहा है, और मैं जानना चाहता हूँ आपसे कि आपको क्या लगता है कि ग्रेविस्टार होंगे या सारे जो तारे हैं, बड़े स्टार्स हैं, जब वो अपने अंत में आते हैं तो ब्लैक होल में कन्वर्ट होते हैं? कमेंट करके ज़रूर बताएं, और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर करें। अगर आप विज्ञान की यात्रा में अगर आप उत्सुक हैं तो हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें। मिलता हूँ जल्द ही दूसरे वीडियो में। सीखते रहें, आगे बढ़ते रहें। माय नेम इज सीके। सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट वन। Hello, friends, you are most welcome. Namaskaram. The lines on the silicon wafer are now more important than the borders on the map. As the corporate giants merge to control the world's lithography, the UPSC syllabus is being rewritten in real time. If you don't understand how these semiconductors dictate the national sovereignty, you're already behind the administrative curve. How? Let us explore this further. If your UPSC notes on globalization still rely on the logic of the early 2020s, where efficiency and open markets reigned supreme, you are already behind the curve. In 2026, the lines on a silicon wafer are more critical than the borders on the map. We are witnessing a global silicon merger, a strategic consolidation of power where semiconductors, lithography, the backbone of AI, defense, and the global economy is becoming a monopoly. This isn't just a tech issue, it is the single most important variable in the 2026-27 UPSC syllabus. Today, we are tearing up the old playbook and rewriting our notes on national sovereignty. The India Semiconductor Mission 2.0 and why the chip war is the great game of our generation. The global semiconductor industry is projected to cross $1 trillion revenue threshold by 2026 end. But here is a catch. It is becoming zero-sum game. For years, we taught ourselves that supply chain were about comparative advantages. Today, that has been replaced by technological sovereignty. Why? Because as AI demand explodes, we see a massive divergence. And there are few things that we must know. First is the AI pivot. Memory chips, which is also known as DRAM, and the specialized AI compute hardware are seeing unprecedented demand, leading to a structural constraint where only a handful of players can supply the pickaxes for the AI gold rush. Number two is the geopolitical trap. As the US and China decouple, countries are no longer looking for the cheapest chip. They are looking for the safest chips. This has led to a strategic consolidation of lithography technology. And number three, which is related to your GS3 paper, stop thinking of semiconductors as just another commodity. They are now strategic assets. When you write your answers, don't talk about trade barriers, talk about supply chain resilience and critical infrastructure protections. So, where does the India stand here in all of this? In July 2026, the Union Cabinet officially approved Semicon 2.0 with an outlay of 1,27,500 crore in terms of Indian rupees. If you are still only talking about Semicon 1.0 in your answers, you are losing marks. Semicon 2.0 is a shift from capacity creation to technological depth. It focuses on 6 critical pillars which you need to memorize. Number one is chip design, moving from mere services provider to IP owners. Number two is machine and material, localization of chemicals and the gases required for manufacturing. Number three is the fabrications, fab in short, moving towards 3 nanometer and 2 nanometer nodes by the next decades. Number four is ATMP or OSCT. Advanced packaging, which is the hidden part of the value chain, India is currently dominating. R&D, closing the gap between Indian academic research and the industry application. And lastly, the talent, creating a future-ready force. So, what are the UPSC takeaway? India is no longer just aiming to be a hub; it is aiming to be a trusted partner. When analyzing India's foreign policy, look at the MOU signed with the EU, Japan, and the US. This is not just trade, it is building of Silicon diplomacy bloc. To master this topic for the mains, recognize your notes into this 4 quadrant framework. Quadrant 1,
which is the geopolitics, discuss the silicon diplomacy and the quad semiconductor supply chain partnership. Quadrant 2 is the economy. Discuss shift from cyclic semiconductor growth to AI driven structural demand. Quadrant 3 is the internal security. Semiconductors are the backbone of defense, satellite, and telecom infrastructure. And lastly, quadrant 4, which is the governance, the role of Niti Aayog's roadmap and the transition from fiscal subsidies to R&D led growth. Do not just dump facts about the fab plants. Connect them to Atmanirbhar Bharat and the goal of achieving domestic capability for 70 to 75% of applications by 2029. The most important takeaway for civil servant is that the world is moving away from a single global supply chain to a multipolar technology ecosystem. If you understand that semiconductors are the new oil and the monopolies controlling them are the new OPEC, you will write answers that demonstrate a high level of administrative understanding of the 21st century statecraft. Don't just prepare for an exam, prepare for the role of the policymaker. Rewrite your notes, focus on the strategy, not just the states. And remember, in the race for the digital sovereignty, India isn't just participating in its, in the whole rat race, it is positioning itself to lead. So, friends, in the end, I will like to say good luck for your examinations, and I will catch you again very soon in the next one.
Hello friends, the big question today that we need to address is that has the oil market just entered a new era of volatility? Very profound question because it affects guys like you and me. And therefore in this video we are going to understand and analyze the historic shift for the global energy. After the UAE has officially exited OPEC Plus as of May 1st, 2026, following this departure, 7 core OPEC Plus members, including Saudi and Russia, have announced an output increase and taking it to 188,000 barrels per day. And this is for June. But the Strait of Hormuz is still impacted because of the regional conflict. So are they preparing for some new opportunities in month of June? And what is going on here? Let us discuss this further. The unthinkable just happened in the world of global energy. As of May 1st, 2026, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, the cartel third largest producer, has officially walked away from OPEC Plus. This isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a fundamental divorce that has left the world's most powerful energy alliance completely fractured. But here is the real shocker. Within 48 hours of UAE departure, the remaining members of OPEC Plus met virtually and announced an immediate output increase, taking it to 188,000 barrels per day for month of June. Why would OPEC Plus increase supply the moment one of its biggest players left? Is this a desperate move to show that they still call the shots? Or is the world heading towards a massive oil glut? Today we are going to break down the UAE exit, the new production target, and why the global oil uncertainty is at the record high. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, let's proceed further. First, we have to understand why the UAE left. For years, there has been simmering tension between Abu Dhabi and Riyadh. The UAE has invested over 150 billion into its state-owned oil company known as ADNOC to boost production capacity to 5 million barrels per day by 2027. However, under the OPEC plus quotas, they were stuck producing around 3.6 million barrels. The UAE energy minister and the entire ministry finally called it a strategic imperative. They wanted the flexibility to produce what they want, when they want, especially to fund their transition to a post-oil economy. And therefore, with all this drama unfolding, what is the impact? The impact is, because the UAE has left, UAE has also exited QOPEC, the Organization of the Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries. They are essentially betting on themselves. They have become completely independent as an oil producer. As an independent player, they can now negotiate bilateral deals with countries like India or Germany without waiting for a green light from a committee in Vienna. On Sunday, which is May 3rd, the new OPEC Plus met for the first time without the UAE. The result, a collective decision to raise output by 188,000 barrels per day in June. This is the third consecutive monthly increase, but there is a catch. This hike is actually smaller than 206,000 barrels per day increase we saw in May. Why? Because the UAE share has been completely removed from the calculation. The 7 countries, including this charge, and they're calling the shots, are Saudi, Russia, which are the 2 big heavy hitters, Iraq, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and Oman. And there are analysts who are now calling this move as symbolic. OPEC Plus want to signal to the market that the alliance is still stable and that they are gradually unwinding their voluntary cuts they started back in 2023. Now, you might be thinking, if they are pumping more oil, shouldn't the price be dropping? Well, it's complicated. Since the conflict involving Iran began on February 28, the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively restricted. This is the world's most critical choke point. Even if the OPEC says they are increasing production on paper, those barrels can't easily reach the global market if the shipping lanes are blocked. Because of this, the Brent crude is still sitting near $108 per barrel. The US WTI is around $101 per barrel. Both are up nearly 78% since the start of 2026. The only thing keeping prices from going even higher is a recent peace proposal from Iran, which gave the market a tiny bit of hope at the end of the last week. So where does this leave us? OPEC Plus is now a 21-member group, and its influence is arguably at its lowest point in a decade. The UAE exit has created a fundamental challenge to the cartel's ability to balance the market. If the Strait of Hormuz reopens, the UAE is poised to flood the market with their 5 million barrel capacity, which could lead to a massive price crash. But for now, OPEC Plus is trying to maintain the illusion of control with these modest 188,000 barrel hike. The bottom line is the oil unit we have known for years is gone. We are entering an era of every nation for itself. So what do you think, friends? Will the UAE exit lead to lower prices at the pump, or will the regional conflict keep the energy cost high for rest of 2026? Let me know what are your thoughts and also your opinion, and if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the global energy market, and I will see you in the next one. Before I go, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
In the boundless silence of space where the radiation lashes like an invisible storm and the vacuum strips away every trace of comfort, one would expect life to flutter. Yet, against all odds, tiny fungal spores have endured, and their survival is more than a scientific curiosity. It is a defiant proclamation that biology is tougher than we have imagined. Clothed in a melanin armor, suspended in metabolic stillness, these microscopic voyagers cling to existence in the most hostile frontier known to mankind. So let's find out more about this. In the cold silence beyond Earth's protective atmosphere, where the radiation storm rages and temperatures, plant life is not expected to endure. Yet, in the recent experiment, which have revealed a startling resilience, certain fungi, hardy and unyielding, have survived prolonged exposure to deep space condition, and their survival challenges our assumption about the fragility of biology and raises profound questions about possibility of microbial hitchhikers journeying to the Mars. So scientists have placed spores of extramophilic fungi aboard orbital platform, exposing them to the cosmic radiation, vacuum, and the relentless cycle of solar flares. So months later, when these were retrieved and examined, many spores remained viable, and their cell wall, rich in melanin, acted as a shield against the radiation, while their metabolic dormancy allowed them to endure starvation and desiccations. So what seems like a death sentence become a testament to evolutionary ingenuity. So these organisms born in shadow of Earth's ecosystem proved capable of weathering the hardest frontier. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you are watching us and which language you are watching this video. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So going forward, the implication of ripple outward. So if the fungi can survive the journey, so too might bacteria or other microbes. And these raises a specter of forward contamination, the accidental transport of Earth's life to the Mars. A single resilient spore nested in the crevice of spacecraft could seed alien soil, and implication the search or implicating for indigenous Martian life. So the line between the discovery and contamination grows perilously thin. For planetary protection agencies, the survival of fungi is both a marvel and a warning. Yet there is another perspective, and that is we are talking about opportunity. If the fungi can endure space, they might one day serve as allies in colonization. And their ability to recycle nutrients, break down the waste, and even produce protective compound could make them invaluable partner for astronauts establishing habitats on Mars. Imagine fungal bioreactors converting Martian logit into fertile soil, or shielding domes infused with melanin to observe the radiation. So, what begins as a survival experiment could evolve into a cornerstone of extraterrestrial agriculture and medicine. The survival of fungi also touches on the deeper philosophical questions, and that is life. And it seems it is like a fragile frame, easily extinguished, but can the strong force that can cling to existence wherever it can. So the cosmos, the vast and indifferent, it may be, but it not empty with the possibilities. And each spore that endures in the orbit whispers of resilience, of stubborn refusal of biology to yield. In their microscopic triumph, the fungi remind us that life is not confined to Earth. It is a universal experiment, always probing the boundaries of possibilities. As humanity prepares for Mars mission, these fungal survivors stand as both cautionary tale and the beacon of hope. They warn us that the thread of this survival, we have to actually deal with careful insight, and least we overwrite Martian biology with our own. But they also inspire us to imagine a future where Earth's smallest organism help us to thrive on very distinct world, and in quiet endurance of these spores drifting through space, we glimpse the persistence of life itself, unyielding, adaptable, and forever reaching to new horizon, new boundaries. In the quiet resilience of these spores drifting unbroken through the cosmic abyss, we glimpse a truth larger than any single experiment. Life is not fragile, but defined. The fungi that endures in the deep space remind us that the biology is a force that adapts, persists, and seeks footholds even in the most hostile realm. As humanity prepares to step into the Mars, their survival is both a warning and a promise. Warning us to guard against the contamination, yet promising that life itself may be our greatest ally in the journey beyond Earth. So, in the void where the silence resigns, the spores whisper, a timeless refrain. A life refuses to die, and it is a refusal, it is a carrier that the seeds of tomorrow's world. So we have come to the end. Thanks for watching this, and we look forward for your comment. At the same time, we request you to subscribe our channel. See you in the next, but before we go further, a few words from our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready, comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. and also it has a civil base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, welcome, namaskaram. Are you obsessed with hitting your target at the expense of your performance? If yes, you have reached the right place, because in this video, we explore a transformative management philosophy from Bhagavad Gita. The ancient concept of Nishkam Karma, performing your duty without attachment to the result, might sound counterintuitive in today's performance driven culture. However, it is actually the secret to sustainable growth, sharper decisions making, and long term business success. Let us go and explore this concept further. As a CEO or an executive, you are defined by your results. You live and die by the quarterly reports, the growth percentage, and the share price and the KPIs. If you miss, you answer for it. If you hit, you get a pat on the back, and then you are expected to do even better next quarter. It's a relentless cycle, but I want to ask you a question that might sound counterintuitive. What if your obsession with the result is actually the reason you have not got the result that you want? In the corporate world, we are conditioned to believe that we aren't fixated on the outcome. We aren't serious about the business. But today, I'm going to share a perspective from 5000 years ago, which is Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 2, verse 47, that suggests that exact opposite of whatever we think, whatever the modern playbook tells us. It suggests that the secret to exponential growth isn't about obsession. It's a profound strategic form of detachment. So, friends, if you have reached this far, please let me know name of your city and the country so that we are in a position to ascertain reach of our video. All right, let's move ahead. Let's look at the psychology of the high performance. When you are a hyper focused on the result, let's say a specific revenue target, you inadvertently do three things that damage your business. One, your current tunnel vision. When you only look at the target, you ignore the peripheral data, the market shifts, and the subtle innovation that could actually move the needle. Number two, you inject fear in your culture. If the CEO is terrified of missing a number, that fear cascades. Your team becomes risk averse. They stop innovating because innovation, by definition, involves risk of failure. They play it safe to hit the number, and in doing so, they miss the massive opportunity. Next, you lose your cognitive bandwidth. Stress isn't just an emotion, it's a biological drain. When your brain is occupied with what if we don't hit the number, you have less mental energy to solve the complex problem that actually drives the number. We have all seen the result obsessed leaders. They are reactive, they are micromanaging, they are usually burnt out. But there is a better way to lead, a way that is ancient yet arguably more relevant to the modern business landscape than ever before. Let's look at the verse. It is one of the most famous lines in Bhagavad Gita, and the quote starts, "You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you have no right to the fruits of your action." Quote close. At first glance, this sounds like it goes against everything we teaches in business schools. No, right to the results. Yes, if you don't care about result, won't I fail? That's a big question that you might ask me. No, this is a misunderstanding. This is not a philosophy of passivity. It is a philosophy of extreme ownership of the process. Think about it like an archer. You can control the stance, the grip, the breath, and the release of the arrow. Those are your duties. The target is 100 yards away. Can you control what happens to the arrow once it leaves your bow? No. A gust of wind could move it, the target could shift, etc. If you're obsessed with a target, your hand shakes, you overthink, you tense up. But if you are entirely focused on the process of the shot, the technique, the result becomes a natural, inevitable consequence of your skill. In business terms, your duty is the strategy. The team, the culture, the product development, and the customer experience. Those are the archery skills. The revenue, the market share, the stock prices, those are the wind and the target. They are the outcome. The verse is telling you put your heart into the work because that is the only thing you actually control. So, how do we apply this in our boardroom? How do we use this to drive our growth? First, shift the KPI focus. Don't just track lagging indicators, things like revenue, profit, the result, etc. Heavily weigh your management towards leading indicators like employee management, R&D, progress, customer satisfaction, scores, etc. These are the duties you control. If you master these, result will come automatically. Number 2, foster safe failure. If you detach from the fear of outcome, you can give your team permission to experiment. When the team knows that a failed experiment isn't a career ending disaster, they innovate, they move faster, they uncover the next big product. It is how you drive growth by removing the paralysis of outcome anxiety. Third, gain the CEO's composure. When a market crash happen or a competitor undercut you, the result obsessed CEO panics. The detached CEO assess the situation calmly because their ego isn't tied to being the person who never fails. They can pivot, adapt, and iterate with cold, clear head. The paradox of Gita is that by letting go of the desperate need for the result, you actually become more capable of achieving it. You work smarter, not harder. You lead with clarity instead of chaos, etc. The most effective leader I've studied are not those who spend every waking hour trembling about the bottom line. They are the ones who build incredible systems, nurtured incredible teams, and focus obsessively on craft of building the business, not the result. The result weren't their masters. The result was a byproduct of their excellence. So here is a challenge for the next 3 months, for the next quarter. Identify the things you are doing solely because you are afraid of the result, and then shift your energy. Pour it into the process, pour it into the people, pour it into the strategy. Let go of the outcome and watch how much more effective you can drive the growth that you're looking for. Because when you stop shaking from the pressure of the result, your aim becomes incredibly steady. So, friends, thanks for watching. If this perspective resonated with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What is one process you have been neglecting because you were too busy chasing a result? Let us discuss this further in the next video. Friends, have a nice day ahead, and I will catch you again in the next one.
Two dawns break across the alien sky, one blazing, one gentle, casting twin shadows that stretch into the unknown. What once lived only in the imagination of storytellers has now stepped into the telescope lens. 27 planet candidates orbiting not one but two suns. And these worlds, simmering like echoes of Star Wars Tatooine, are no longer fiction but cosmic invitation. They whisper of future double horizon, and where every sunrise is a duet and every settlement a testament to our courage to thrive in the extraordinary. So let's find out more about this. Imagine standing on alien soil, the horizon painted not by one dawn, but two. The first sun rises in a blaze of gold, and the second follows in a softer hue, casting shadow that dance in pair. And this is not the realm of myth or cinema. It is a reality hinted by astronomers who have uncovered 27 planet candidates orbiting binary stars. World of Twin Sun echoing the dreamscape of Star Wars, Tatooine, now stepped into the realm of science. For humanity, these discoveries are more than curiosities. They are invitation. Each planet circling two suns represent a lab of survival, a crucible where the light, gravity, and the climate conspire in an unfamiliar way. The future of human settlement may well depend on our ability to adapt to such extreme. Binary system challenge our engineering, our biology, and our imagination. How do we build the home where the daylight never truly ends, or where the nights are fractured by competing lunar rhythms? How do the crop grow under two suns and their photosynthesis tuned in a spectrum broader than Earth? So these are the questions that are obstacle, and if you feel they're obstacle, that is up to you. But for scientists and somebody who is inclined to new discoveries, these questions are not obstacles, but they are seed of innovation. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine our channel. So moving forward, the dual suns offer paradoxical gift. On one hand, these gravitational tug-of-war can destabilize orbits, making climate volatile. On the other hand, their combined energy could sustain habitable zone wider than those around solitary stars. A planet warmed by two suns might host desert of dazzling brilliance, ocean simmering under perpetual twilights, or forests that evolve pigment unknown to Earth. For settlers, survival would mean harnessing these abundance. Solar array tuned to twin frequencies, agriculture adapted to relentless light, and architecture designed to shield the channel heat. So, but beyond the survival lies culture. Imagine the myth born under binary skies. Children raised to see two dawns as a symbol of resilience. Poet describing love as a dance of twin flames. And scientists charting calendar by rhythm of dual eclipse. So human settlement is not only about biology, it is about meaning. And these words promises meaning in abundance. The discovery of 27 such candidates is a reminder that our galaxy is not uniform. It is diverse, it is unpredictable and generous. Each binary system is a stage where the humanity might rehearse its next act. Colonies under twin suns could become outposts of resilience, teaching us to thrive in the condition once thought to be impossible. They could serve as a way station for a deeper journey, stepping stones and towards galactical citizenship. The future of the settlement among the twin suns is not guaranteed. It is earned. So, it actually will demand technologies that tame chaos, philosophies that embrace duality, and courage that sees opportunities in strangeness. So, yet the history shows that humanity thrives when they're challenged, and from desert to poles, from oceans to orbit, we have always actually turned the unfamiliar into the home. So And as the telescope unveil these twin sun world, humanity stands at the threshold of possibilities. The double dawn are not just a spectacle of light. They are symbol of resilience, of future where we learn to thrive in the extraordinary. Each of these 27 planets is a reminder that the universe is vast, generous, and waiting. To settle beneath to sun is to embrace duality, to craft a new myth, and to prove that our spirit is as boundless as the sky we seek. The twin horizon rise, and with them the promise of civilization, unafraid to call the impossible as home. So we have come to the end of this information, this video. Look forward for your comments, and thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe our channel, and see you in the next one. But before we end, few words from our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Friends, let me ask you, can the ancient wisdom solve the modern CEO's greatest challenge? Well, in this episode of our leadership series, we dive deep into Bhagavad Gita to uncover a blueprint of what we call the strategic liberation. For a high-stake executive, liberation isn't about escaping the boardroom. It's about operating within it with total clarity, unshakable focus, and a mind free from sense of cognitive bias and ego. Let us explore this further. In the world of high-stake business, we talk about freedom. We in fact talk a lot about freedom and market freedom, financial freedom, the freedom to innovate. But for the modern CEO, the reality is often opposite. You are tethered to the stock ticker, bound by the expectations of the board, and often a prisoner to your own decision-making loop. We call this the invisible ceiling, the point where your intelligence and hard work cannot take you any further because your mind is too cluttered with the noise of the trade. But what if there was a way to achieve a state of strategic liberation, a state where you operate with absolute clarity, where your decisions are not reactive but visionary. Over 7,000 years ago, a roadmap for this exact state was laid out in a dialogue on a battlefield. Today we are looking at Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 17. It's not just a spiritual mantra, it is the ultimate executive manual for the 21st century. Those whose intellect is merged in Him, whose mind is one with Him, who are established in Him, for whom He is the supreme goal, their sins being dispelled by knowledge, go to the state from which there is no return. Well, this is a quote and translated into English. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel, and I will also know who's watching and who's not. Now let's proceed further. To a CEO, this might sound like a religious abstraction, but let's translate this into leadership language. The words identify 4 pillars of focus. First, intellect. What is the intellect? Your strategic analytical power. Next, mind. Your emotional intelligence and focus. Third, establishment. Your core values and conviction. Fourth, the goal. Your ultimate vision or the North Star. So the Gita suggests that when these 4 are aligned with supreme truth, or in the business terms, a transcendental purpose, you reach a state of no return. In business, that is a definition of the legacy. One of the most striking phrases in this verse is the sin destroyed by knowledge. In a boardroom, we don't use the word sin, but we do use word error. In this context, sin refers to the mental impurities that could cloud judgment. Ego, attachment to a specific outcome, fear of failure, cognitive biases, etc. Think of these as the cognitive debt. Every time you make a decision based on your ego rather than data point, you base on how we have always done it rather than the truth. You accrue debt. This debt slows your company down and it creates a friction. So the Gita says this debt is destroyed by knowledge, not just information. We have plenty of that, but realized knowledge is missing here. This is the ability to see the market, your competitor, your own team exactly as they are, without distorting the lens of your own desires or fears. When knowledge destroys error, liberation begins. The verse ends with bold promise, the path of liberation where there is no rebirth. The spiritual terms, this is the moksha. In the boardroom, this is the high performance flow state. No rebirth means you stop repeating the same mistake. Have you ever noticed that how some companies seems to hit the same wall every 5 years? The same culture issues, the same product, market fit struggles, the same leadership turnover, and that is a cycle of rebirth in business. The strategic liberation means moving past those cycles. It means your leadership has evolved to a point where you are no longer a manager of crisis, but a creator of realities. You have reached a level of clarity where you don't have to go back to the old ways of struggling. You are no longer reacting to the waves. You are the ocean yourself. So how does you apply Gita 5.17 on a Tuesday morning before a merger or a product launch? I have few tips for you. First, fix the intellect. Start your day by detaching from the outcome. Focus entirely on the integrity of the strategy. Next, dissolve your ego. Ask yourself, am I making this choice to be right or to be effective? If it is to be right, that's the sin. And the verse mentions this very clearly. Let knowledge dissolve it. Right? Next is establish the North Star. Ensure your supreme goal isn't just this quarter's earning, but a purpose that provides value to the world. When your goal is supreme, your stamina becomes infinite. True leadership isn't about control, it's about alignment. Chapter 5, verse 17 of Bhagavad Gita teaches us that when our intellect, mind, and faith are fixed on a truth higher than our own, we become liberated from the friction of the corporate world. We move beyond the boardroom. We stop being driven by the fear of loss and start being pulled by the power of vision. This is the strategic liberation. That is the path of the sage leader. The question isn't whether you can afford to learn these lessons. The question is, can you afford the rebirth of your past mistakes, and what happens if you don't? My name is CK, and this has been a look into the timeless wisdom of Gita for the modern executive. Thanks for joining live. Thanks for listening. Before we move on to the next video, a few words about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends. By now we know that the 21-hour marathon peace talk between US and Iran have officially collapsed. What does this mean for the global stability and your wallet as well as mine? Therefore, in this video, we break down the dramatic failure of the Islamabad Peace Summit, where Vice President J.D. Vance and the Iranian negotiators failed to reach a ceasefire after nearly 21 hours of high-stake diplomacy, following the expiration of the temporary 2-week ceasefire. The Middle East is now bracing for the return to active hostility and a massive economic ripple effect. Let us discuss this further. It's being called the most consequential 21 hours in the modern diplomacy. In a high-stake hotel room in Islamabad, Pakistan, the world held its breath as the Vice President J.D. Vance and the Iranian negotiators sat face to face for the first time in decades. What was the goal? The goal was very set: to stop a war that has already crippled global trade and brought the Middle East to its knees. But as of this morning, which is April 13, 2026, the silence from the Serena Hotel was broken by a single devastating sentence from the US delegation: no deal has been reached. The temporary 2 weeks ceasefire has now also expired. The peace deal has collapsed. And as the diplomats head back to the airport, the markets are already reacting. Oil is spiking, gold is hitting record high, and the drums of war are beating louder than ever. Today we dive deep into understanding what exactly is going on and why the Islamabad Peace Summit failed, and what this means for the global economy as we brace for the fallout. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel, and I will also know who's watching which segment, etc. Now let's proceed further. To understand why this failed, we have to look at the clock. The talks began with a glimmer of hope. President Trump had sent high-powered team headed by Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. They were meeting an Iranian delegation led by Mohammad Baghir Kalibaf. For 15 hours, the talk were described as expert-level discussions. They were exchanging text, debating the finer points of a 15-point proposal. But by hour 20, the atmosphere completely shifted. US presented, what they called their best and final offer. The core of the American demand was simple: Iran must provide an affirmative commitment to stop all nuclear enrichment and immediately, unconditionally reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The Iran response, they called the demand excessive. Tehran counter-offered with their own 10-point plan, demanding the immediate withdrawal of all US forces from the Middle East and lifting of all sanctions before a single ship moved through the Strait of Hormuz. By 4 a.m. local time, the deadlock was absolute. J.D. Vance walked out, stating that if the Iranians weren't willing to negotiate in good faith, the US was not, receptive to further stalling. The open hand of diplomacy has been replaced by a closed fist. This isn't just a political failure, it's an economic catastrophe. Why does a meeting in Pakistan matter to someone in New York, London, or Tokyo? There is only one answer, and that is Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's most important oil artery. Currently, it is under an effective stranglehold. During the ceasefire, there was a hope that the blockade could be lifted. Instead, no deal news has sent oil prices into a vertical climb. Analysts at Goldman Sachs and S&P Global are warning that if the hostility resumes, we are looking at a price of $150 per barrel, and this is going to become a reality. But it is not just oil. Let's look at gold. We have seen gold surge over $100 an ounce in mere minutes, hitting record height as investors flee to safer havens. The Gulf economies nations like Qatar and Kuwait, which rely entirely on the strait, are looking at potential recession of up to 5% this year. Supply chain. Let's look at how this will impact supply chain. From semiconductor to food imports, the Middle East, stress test is basically completely failing, and it is going to basically create a major problem for the world. Iran has already struck Amazon data centers in Bahrain and UAE earlier this year. With the peace deal dead, tech giants like Microsoft and Google are reportedly considering their entire presence in the region. We are witnessing the de-globalization of the Middle East in real time. So what happens tomorrow? What happens today? 2 week ceasefire is officially over. President Trump has already stated that he is ready to open the strait with or without Iran's cooperation. On the ground that the situation is volatile, Israel has agreed to talks with Lebanon but refused to speak with Hezbollah. In Iran, hardliners are already claiming victory, saying they forced the US to the table and gave up nothing. Well, military buildup is staggering. The US has erected missiles launchers at Qatari airbase, and second aircraft carrier is moving into Gulf. On the other side, Iran has deployed advanced Chinese anti-stealth radar system. The Epic Fury war, as some are calling it, as no longer a threat, it's a renewed reality. If a single spark hit a tanker in the next 48 hours, the limited conflict could transform into a regional issue that involves every major power on earth. Diplomacy is a game of red lines, and in Islamabad, both sides finally hit them. The US won't accept a nuclear Iran, Iran won't accept a US policed region. We are entering a period of extreme uncertainty. The failed peace deal of 2026 will likely be remembered as a moment the world realized that the old rules of Middle Eastern diplomacy are officially broken. For now, keep an eye on the oil stickers and the troop movement in Pakistan and also in Oman. The next move won't be made by diplomat in a suit, it will be made by commanders in cockpit. So friends, what do you think? Was the US too rigid in their demands, or is Iran simply playing for the time while the world's economy burns? Let me know in the comments below. This is a developing story, and we will be here to bring you the update as that happens. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. In a world that's this volatile, staying informed is our only hedge. I'm CK, and I will see you in the next one. Before we go to the next section, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, in this section of our live stream, we dive deep into the groundbreaking journey of the Artemis 2 mission where human crew finally ventured into the shadow of the moon. For decades, we have relied on the robotic probes to map the lunar far side, but the human eye sees what camera often misses. Join us as we explore the incredible sights witnessed by crew from never before seen crater complex to eerie rugged terrain of the lunar South Pole. Let's go and explore this further. For over 50 years, the far side of the moon has been a place of myth and robotic photography. We have seen the grainy black and white photos from the Soviet probes and high definition scans from the lunar reconnaissance orbiters. But until April 2026, no human eye had looked upon the moon's hidden face since the end of Apollo program. On April 1st, 2026, four pioneers, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, shook the Florida coast as they rode a pillar of fire into the sky. They weren't just going back to the moon, they were going beyond it. Artemis 2 was designed to test the limits of the Orion spacecraft, but it becomes something much more, a voyage into the darkness where humans saw things that camera simply cannot capture. Today we are looking at what the crew of Artemis 2 discovered when they crossed into the lunar night. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. As Orion moved away from Earth, the crew achieved a milestone that had stood from over half a century. On April 4th, they officially surpassed the distance recorded set by Apollo 13, reaching a maximum distance of over 252,760 miles from our home planet. But the real mission began on April 6th. As the spacecraft swung around the moon, the crew prepared for the loss of signal, which is LOS. This is the moment when the massive bulk of moon blocks all radio waves from Earth. For 40 minutes, the crew of Artemis 2 were almost isolated humans in history. In fact, the most isolated humans, completely alone in the silent vacuum of the lunar far side. It was during this window of silence that the unseen moon began to reveal itself, reveal its secret. Why is the far side so different? To the naked eye, the side of the moon we see from Earth is covered in something called Maria, those dark, smooth volcanic plains. But as the Artemis crew looked at through their window, they saw a world that was rugged, battered, and almost entirely mountainous. They passed over the Hertzsprung Basin, a massive double-ringed impact crater that stretches over 300 mile, almost 300 mile wide. Mission specialist Christina Koch noted the intricate rings of the basin, which looked far more 3D and jagged than the satellite photo had ever suggested before that. But then something unexpected happened. As they moved into the moon's shadow, their crew witnessed a rare in space solar eclipse. From their perspective, the moon completely swallowed the sun. The pilot Victor Glover described the sight as unreal. When the sun blocked, the crew could see the sun's corona, its ghostly outer atmosphere, flaring out from behind the black disk of the moon. But even more incredible was the Earth's shine, because the Earth was nearly full from the moon's perspective. It reflected enough light to actually illuminate the dark surface of the moon in a soft, eerie blue glow. Perhaps the most startling discovery made during those hours in the darkness was something the scientists back at NASA hadn't explicitly planned for. While peering at the darkened lunar surface, the crew began to report seeing pinpricks of lights. Commander Reed Wiseman radioed back once communication was restored, and he said, the quote start, that was definitely an impact flash. And Jeremy just saw another one. And the quote close. So in total, the crew reported 6 distinct meteoroids striking and hitting the moon in real time. These were tiny space rocks slamming into the lunar soil at tens and thousands of miles per hour, exploding in a millisecond long burst of bluish white light. Why is this a big deal? Because it proves that the moon is under constant bombardment. For future missions like Artemis 3, where astronauts will actually live on the surface, understanding the frequency of these impact flashes is a matter of life and death. The crew's eyes were able to detect this tiny, fast event that most automated satellite would have definitely missed. Artemis 2 splashed down safely in the Pacific on April 10th, 2026, but the data they brought back is changing everything. We know that the far side topology is even more complex than we imagined, and that the dark side of the moon is far more active than we once thought. So, as we look towards the future, to the first woman and the next man walking on the lunar South Pole, we do so with the knowledge gathered by 4 people who went into the darkness, came back with a new vision of our closest neighbor, which is the unseen moon. So, the unseen moon is unseen no longer. So if you want to stay updated on the upcoming Artemis 3 landing and the future of Mars exploration, make sure to hit the subscribe button. The journey is just beginning, and I will see you in the next one. Before I leave this section, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. हेलो दोस्तों, आपका स्वागत है। नमस्कारम। क्या आप जानते हैं कि 1946 का जो साल है वो भारत के इतिहास में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, और स्पेसिफिकली आज की तारीख जिसका हम जून 16 में हैं आज, तो आज की तारीख बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। लेकिन ये क्यों है, इसके बारे में हम चर्चा करेंगे इस वीडियो में। थोड़ा सा बता देता हूँ कि जो ब्रिटिश वॉइसरॉय थे वो एक मीटिंग कर रहे थे इंडियन पॉलिटिशियंस के साथ। इस मीटिंग का नाम रखा गया उन्होंने कैबिनेट मिशन 1946। लेकिन जब भी ये मीटिंग होती थी उस टाइम विभाजन की बातें ज़्यादा होती थी। हालांकि जून 16 को ये पूरी तरह तय हो गया कि अब इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट बनेगी और आज़ादी मिलेगी और इसके बाद बंटवारा भी होगा। तो ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट तारीख है हमारी हिस्ट्री की। आगे बढ़ते हैं, इसके बारे में और जानते हैं। तो दोस्तों, कुछ ऐसी तारीखें होती हैं, ऐसा कुछ हिस्ट्री होती है जो हमारे पन्नों पे दर्ज नहीं होती, लेकिन हमारे डीएनए में पाई जाती है। हम सब जानते हैं 15 अगस्त 1947 को इंडिया को आज़ादी मिली, लेकिन इसका रास्ता 1947 में शुरू नहीं हुआ। इसके रास्ते में काफ़ी मोड़ आए और पहली दफ़ा ये 1946 में इसका रास्ता तय किया गया, जो काफ़ी मीटिंग्स के बाद ये एक मुकाम आया। आज हम बात करेंगे उस साल की जिसमें भारत की तकदीर हमेशा के लिए बदल दी। हम बात करेंगे 1946 के उस कैबिनेट मिशन की जिसके विफल होने से एक खंड भारत के सपने को चकनाचूर कर दिया। आज हम समझेंगे कि एक टेबल पे बैठे वार्ताओं और देशों के बंटवारे की पटकथा कैसे लिखी गई। और 1946 का साल था, सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर खत्म हो चुकी थी, ब्रिटेन जीत तो गया था लेकिन अंदर से खोखला हो चुका था। भारत में ब्रिटिश हुकूमत के खिलाफ गुस्सा चरम हाईएस्ट पॉइंट पर था। शाही नौसेना का विद्रोह हो चुका था, विच इज द रॉयल नेवी जो इंडिया में थी। ब्रिटिश प्रधानमंत्री को समझ आ गया था कि भारत पर राज करना अब बिल्कुल इम्पॉसिबल है। ब्रिटेन अब भारत को छोड़ना चाहता था, लेकिन शर्त यह थी कि ट्रांसफर ऑफ पावर शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से हो। और इसी उद्देश्य के साथ मार्च 1946 में 3 ब्रिटिश मंत्रियों पैथिक लॉरेंस और उनके जो सहयोगी थे, उन्होंने वो उनको भारत भेजा गया। और इसको इतिहास में कैबिनेट मिशन के नाम से जाना जाता है। तो दोस्तों, आगे बढ़ने से पहले मैं पूछना चाहता हूं कि आप किस शहर से हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं और किस लैंग्वेज में हमारा वीडियो देख रहे हैं। इससे हमें मदद मिलेगी, हम अपने चैनल की रीच को असेसमेंट कर सकेंगे। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। कैबिनेट मिशन का लक्ष्य क्या था? इसका मुख्य मकसद था भारत में एक ऐसी सरकार बनाना जो सत्ता संभाल सके और ये तय कर सके कि भारत एकजुट रह पाएगा कि नहीं रह पाएगा। मिशन के जो थे 3 हिस्से थे। 3 टीयर एक योजना उन्होंने बनाई, जिसमें केंद्र में एक कमजोर सरकार, रक्षा, विदेश और संचार मामले केंद्र के पास होंगे। बाकी शक्तियां स्टेट्स को मिलेंगी और स्टेट्स के अंदर ग्रुप्स में बांटा जाएगा। तो जो कांग्रेस उस समय जो लीडिंग पार्टी थी, उनको लगा कि ये तो ढीला ढाला ढांचा है और मुस्लिम लीग को इसमें पाकिस्तान की झलक दिखाई देने लग गई। तो लेकिन यही वो मोड़ था जो दोस्तों, जो जिसमें मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने पाकिस्तान की मांग करके वो अड़ गए, क्योंकि इस तरह का उन्होंने प्रपोजल दिया था जो कैबिनेट मिशन था, जिसमें उन्होंने वीक सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट दिखाई थी और स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टेट दिखाए थे। तो इसी बात को लेके उनको लगा, मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना को लगा कि ये मौका है जिसमें हम अपना देश बना सकते हैं। तो उन्होंने पाकिस्तान के मांग पे वो बहुत ही जिद करने लगे और उस पर अटक गए। और इसके बाद काफ़ी डिस्कशन हुए इसके अंदर, लेकिन डेड एंड पे जाके खड़े हो गए। तो जब 16 मई 1946 को कैबिनेट मिशन की रिपोर्ट आई, तो शुरू में तो उसमें सबने उसको माना, लेकिन बाद में डेफिनेशंस के ऊपर झगड़ा शुरू हो गया। और क्योंकि डेफिनेशन डॉक्यूमेंट में काफ़ी हर चीज़ें डिफाइन की जाती हैं, तो और उसमें कांग्रेस का मत ये था कि जो ग्रुप्स हैं उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि उन्होंने वीक गवर्नमेंट बनाई है सेंटर पे, स्टेट पे स्ट्रॉन्ग गवर्नमेंट बनाई है और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अंदर भी ग्रुप्स बनाए हैं जिसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है। लेकिन जो मुस्लिम लीग पार्टी थी, जो दूसरी पार्टी थी, मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना उसके प्रेसिडेंट थे, वो कह रहे थे कि ग्रुप तो बहुत ही ज़रूरी है, ग्रुप होना ज़रूरी है। तो यही वो पल था जिसमें भारत का भविष्य का फैसला हो रहा था। और जिन्ना ने डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे का भी ऐलान कर दिया था, जिससे काफ़ी दंगे भड़के और काफ़ी यहाँ पे उत्पात हुआ। आप सब जानते हैं उसके बारे में, हम उसके बारे में डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे। हम सिर्फ इसकी बात करेंगे कि यहाँ पे 16 जून को क्या डिस्कशन स्टार्ट हुआ और 2 सितंबर 1946 को जवाहरलाल नेहरू के नेतृत्व में अंतरिम सरकार, जो इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट थी, उसका गठन हुआ, जो देश का कार्यभार संभालेगी। और ये लेकिन एक अभी पूरी तरह पावर ट्रांजिशन नहीं हुआ था, लेकिन ये पूरी तरह एक इंडिपेंडेंट सरकार बनी 1946 में। और इसके बाद जो काफ़ी कुछ हुआ इसके अंदर, इंडिया और पाकिस्तान फॉर्मेशन के बाद काफ़ी लोग इधर से उधर गए, उधर से इधर आए, काफ़ी लोगों, तो काफ़ी कुछ हुआ, वो हम डिस्कस नहीं करेंगे। लेकिन 1946 का साल हमें यह सिखाता है कि जब बड़े फैसले बंद कमरों में लिए जाते हैं तो विश्वास की कमी होती है और इसका खामियाजा आम जनता को भुगतना पड़ता है। 1946 की उन नाकाम वार्ताओं ने 1947 की आज़ादी तो दी, लेकिन साथ में बंटवारे का भी एक जख्म दिया, जो आज हमारे इतिहास में अच्छी तरह मतलब कुरेदा गया है। आज हम पीछे मुड़ के देखते हैं तो कैबिनेट मिशन सिर्फ एक प्रशासनिक डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं, बल्कि भारत की तकदीर बदलने वाला वो मोड़ है जैसे आज जिसने हमें आज का मॉडर्न इंडिया दिया, अगर हम इसको देखें तो हमारे को सीख मिलती है, जानकारी मिलती है कि फ्यूचर में हम इस तरह के काम ना करें जिसमें वीक गवर्नमेंट इस तरह का बनाया गया कि सेंटर पे गवर्नमेंट वीक होगी और ग्रुप्स होंगे और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट स्ट्रांग होगी। तो मतलब ये पूरा का पूरा जो इंडिया अगर छोड़ के जाता है अंग्रेज, तो पूरा उसको तोड़ने का इनका प्लान था। तो ये जानकारी हमारे को 16 जून 1946 में मिली, जब ये डिस्कशन आगे बढ़ा। तो दोस्तों, इस वीडियो को अपने दोस्तों के साथ, अपनी फैमिली के साथ ज़रूर शेयर करें, हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें। मिलता हूँ अगली बार। और अगर कोई इसमें आपके पास कोई पॉइंट है या आपका कोई सवाल है, तो ज़रूर हमें कमेंट करके बताएं। तो मिलता हूँ दोस्तों अगले वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए अपना ख्याल रखें। जय हिंद।
Hello, friends. We are deconstructing the sophisticated hydraulic mastery etched into a very bastion of Vijayanagar Empire. By tracing hidden stone channels and forgotten cisterns, we reveal the blueprint of ancient superpower. See how the imperial engineers harnessed the chaotic force of nature to sustain a city of millions against all odds. So, hidden beneath the scorched granite of Hampi lies a secret that kept an empire alive. While the monsoon rains once threatened to drown this city, the Vijayanagar engineers did the impossible. They weaponized the water and discovered the subterranean stone conduct that turned a seasonal deluge into a display of absolute liquid power. So let's find out more about it. The story of Vijayanagar's rise is not about kings. It is not about temples or army. It is actually equally about water. Hidden beneath the grandeur of its palaces and the sacred geometry of its shrine lays a secret network of channels, reservoirs and aqueducts that transformed a rocky plateau into a beating heart of mighty empire. This hydraulic marvel was the silent architect of prosperity, feeding fields and sustaining cities and ensuring the resilience against the drought in a land where the Tungbhadra river alone could not actually sufficient. So the engineers of Vijayanagar understood the terrain like poet understand the rhythm. They carved the channel from Tungbhadra, bending its flow into intricate arteries that carries life across the miles of granite and scrub. So these channels fed massive tanks, something like pushkarnis, the simmering like a mirror beside a temple, not only serving ritual purity, but also acting as a reservoir for civic life. The Kamalpura tank and the Tattu canal and the grand Haria canals were more than a feast of engineering, and they were a lifeline that allowed the rice, sugarcane, the cotton to flourish in abundance. Agriculture became the empire's backbone, and the surplus grain became its currency of power. But this was not something like a crude utility system. The water work were woven into the spiritual and aesthetic fabric of the city. Temple tanks reflected the gopurams in their still water, while stepped walls invited both ritual immersions and practical use. The hydraulic system was designed with redundancy, and if one canal flattered, another carried the burden. This was a philosophy of resilience and anticipating scarcity and turning it into abundance. In this way, Vijayanagar's rulers ensured that their capital spread across miles of stone and dust and remained a thriving oasis. So, friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. So now let's continue with our discussion. The brilliance of this network lay in its invisibility. Unlike towering fort walls or monumental sculptures, the canal whispered their presence. They were embedded in the landscape, blending with the boulders and the field, and their genius revealed only when one traced the flow of water from river to tank to crop. So this quiet infrastructure sustained armies, artisans, and pilgrims alike, making Vijayanagar not just a city of stone but a city of substance. When foreigner travelers like Domingo Pias and Fernão Nunes visited, they marveled not only the bazaars and temples, but at the sheer abundance of food and water. They saw a city where the scarcity had been conquered by design, where the prosperity was engineered into the land itself. The hydraulic system was empire's invisible crown, ensuring that Vijayanagar could withstand seas, drought, and time. Today, as ruins lie scattered across Hampi's landscape, the remnant of this water network still we can found its presence after monsoon rains. The canals carved into granite, tank that still hold water, and field that still bear crops remind us that the empire are built not only on conquest but on the quiet mastery of nature. So Vijayanagar's hydraulic marvel were the secret veins of empire, carrying life through the stone and proving that water, more than gold or army, is the true foundation of civilization. So the tale of Vijayanagar water network closes not with the silence, but with the lingering echo of ingenuity. The empire's canals and tanks and aqueducts were more than stone and flow. They were the veins of civilization that understood how to turn a harsh landscape into a cradle of abundance. In their quiet persistence, these hydraulic marvels remind us that the power is not only forged into battles or carved in temples, but also in the unseen current that sustain life. Even in the ruins, the remnant of this network whisper the resilience and foresight. They stand as testimony to a vision that bound nature, human with into a harmony, proving that empire rise not merely on conquest but on a wisdom of nurture. So Vijayanagar's secret water system was its invisible empire builder, a legacy etched in granite and flowing while still in the memory, and enduring lesson that the true strength of civilization lies in how it sustains its people. So we have come to the end of this discussion. Please like and subscribe our channel, and we look forward for your comment on this topic. So see you in the next one. Till then, bye. bold new roadmap reshapes Indian classroom with a skill-based learning, multilingual literacy, and technology-driven education, preparing students not just for marks but for life. Education in India is entering a new chapter. The Central Board of Secondary Education has announced a sweeping curriculum revamp that will take effect from 2026. And it promises to reshape the way millions of students experience learning. For decades, Indian school system had been criticized for its heavy reliance on rote memorizations, exam pressures, and limited focus on skills. This roadmap is CBSE's attempt to break away from the mold and align classroom with the vision of National Education Policy 2020. At the heart of the revamp is a shift towards skill-based learning. Instead of simply reproducing textbook answers, students will be encouraged to think critically, solve problems creatively, and collaborate with the peers. The idea is to prepare them not just for exam, but for the life beyond school, whether in higher education, the workplace, or society at large. Teachers will be expected to integrate projects, presentations, and real-world case studies into their lessons, making learning more engaging and practical. One of the most debated actually changes in the three language rule. Under the new framework, students will study 3 languages up to class 10, with at least one being an Indian language. Supporters argue that this will strengthen cultural roots, multilingual literacy, while the critics worry that it may add stress to students already juggling with multiple subjects. The policy reflects CBSE's attempt to balance global competitiveness with a national identity. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will determine the reach of our channel. So going forward, another major reform in the reduction of content load. The syllabus will be streamlined to focus on core concept, cutting down an excessive detail that often overwhelmed students. And this will free up time for experimentations, experiential learning activities in the lab and the field projects and creative exploration. So alongside this CBSE plan to integrate technology and digital tools into classroom. So adapted learning platform, AI assist resources, and online practical module will become the part of everyday teaching, ensuring students are comfortable with the digital world they will inherit. Assessment will also undergo a transformation. The traditional high-stake exam model will give way to continuous competency-based evaluation. Marks will be no longer hinged solely on the 3-hour test. Instead, projects, practical, and presentation will carry a greater weight. And this change is expected to reduce exam stress and provide a more accurate picture of students' ability. The impact of this reform will be felt across the ecosystem. Students will find their education more engaging and less mechanical. Teachers, however, will face little challenge of adopting the new method, mastering the digital tools, and rethinking how they evaluate performance. And parents too will need to adjust their expectation, as success will no longer be measured by exam scores but by skill and competencies. Of course, challenges remains. Like training teachers across India's vast and diverse school network is no small task. Ensuring rural schools have access to digital infrastructure will require significant investment, and the three language rule may face resistance from families who fear it add unnecessary burden. Yet, despite these hurdles, the roadmap signals a bold step towards modernizing Indian education. So, what do you think about this? We have come to the end of this live stream, and thanks for watching. I would request you to like and subscribe our channel, and see you in the next one. But before we close this live streaming, a few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
Nagarjuna's vision of emptiness offers balance, resilience, and wisdom for the challenges of our interconnected 21st century world. In the grand tapestry of Indian philosophy, few figures stand as tall and as enigmatic as Nagarjuna, the 2nd century Buddhist philosopher, often regarded as the most influential thinker after Buddha himself. His contribution lies in the systematic exposition of Shunyavad, the doctrine of emptiness, which became the cornerstone of Madhyamaka school of Mahayana Buddhism. In 2026, Shunyavad, the philosophy of emptiness articulated by Naga Arjun, remains strikingly relevant, not just as a spiritual doctrine, but as a lens through which we can interpret the modern life, technology, and society. So Nagarjuna's genius was to show that this emptiness applies not only to the worldly appearances but also to the ultimate reality. He argued that both samsara, that means the cycle of birth and death, and nirvana, that is liberation, are empty of inherent existence. This radical insight collapsed the duality between bondage and liberation, suggesting that the absolute is not something separate from the world, but the very ground of all appearances. So with the geopolitical tensions, climate change, economic stress, and the doctrine of emptiness teaches resilience at this point of time, that means in 2026. So by recognizing that the cries are not permanent entities, but dependent on the cause and conditions, and we approach them with the flexibility rather than despair. And this is the way to go forward when we understand the teaching of Nagarjuna. So it is important to note that the Nagarjuna did not invent Shunyavad. The seeds of this doctrine were already present in Mahayana Sutras even before his time. What makes Nagarjuna remarkable is that he gathered these scattered threads and wove them into a coherent, rigorous philosophical system. He gave Shunyavad its intellectual depth, transforming it from mystical insight into a dialectical method that could withstand scrutiny. In an era of stress, identity crisis, and the idea that self is empty of fixed essence can be liberating. So it helps individual detach from the rigid ego construct and embrace fluidity, and reducing anxiety about permanence and control. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So we were talking about Shunyavad, and Shunyavad often misunderstood as nihilism. And sometimes called it is denial, but it is not a denial of reality. The Shunya literally means void or empty, but in Nagarjuna's philosophy, it carries a subtle meaning. It refers to the absence of inherent existence, that is swabhav. You know, when we talk in Hindi, all phenomena, according to him, arise in dependence on cause and conditions. A principle known as something when we understand pratyaksh, and then we analyze that, and or it depend where it dependent originated. You know, so because things exist only in the relation to other things, and they cannot possess an independent permanent essence. So in this sense, they are empty. And in a world dominated by artificial intelligence, virtual realities, and shifting identities, Shunyavad reminds us that phenomena lacks inherent existence. Just as an AI model or digital avatar has no fixed essence outside its relational context, so to do human construct exist only through interdependence. So his dialectical method expressed in his teaching dismantle very philosophical position by showing its contradictions. Whether one assert existence, non-existence, both or neither, Nagarjuns demonstrate that each claim lead to a logical impasses. Reality, he insists, that transcends these categories. So it cannot be captured by intellect, which is inherently discursive or relational. So true understanding comes only through a direct spiritual realization. So as India revamp its curriculum like CBSE in 2026 roadmap, and Shunavad offers a philosophical foundation for the critical thinking, challenging rigid categories and encouraging students to see the knowledge as dynamic and contextual and interconnected. So the middle path that Nagarjuna champions avoid the extreme of eternalism, the belief in which is permanent existence, and nihilism, that is denial of all realities. So by affirming emptiness, he does not negate the world's, but actually reveals its relational nature. Appearances are real enough in empirical sense, but they lack ultimate substance. The absolute, meanwhile, is not a thing but a non-dual reality in which all distinctions dissolve. So this philosophy had a profound implication. It reshaped Buddhist metaphysics, influenced later thinkers in Tibet and China and Japan, even resonate with the modern philosophers who saw in Nagarjuna's prosecutors to ritualism and relationalism and demonstration. So his instances that the concept collapse under their own weight anticipate contemporary critics of language and meaning. So Shunyavad's emphasis or interdependence resonate with the ecological thought. It reminds us that the human nature technologies are not separate entity but a part of a web of condition and an insight crucial for sustainability in 2026. Yet, Nagarjuna's aim was not merely intellectual. His philosophy was deeply soteriological, and it means to liberate. So, by realizing the emptiness of all things, one is freed from clinging or aversions or delusion. The realization of is or we say shunyata, that is the realization of nirvana itself. So in the end, Nagarjuna's contribution lies in his ability to articulate the infables. He took the Buddha's insight into dependent origination and expanded it into a comprehensive philosophy of emptiness. Shunyavad, for being a doctrine of despair, Shunyavad is a doctrine of freedom actually. So it teaches that by seeing through the illusion of inherent existence, we awaken to the non-dual reality where the samsara and the nirvana are not opposite but unified. So this is a resolution of thought that Nagarjuna gifted to the world, a vision that continues to inspire seeker and scholars alike. Please send your comments, subscribe our channel, and for more insight into Indian spirituality and mythology. See you in the next one. But before we end this live stream, a few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. नमस्कार दोस्तों, श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निजमन मुकुर सुधार बरनव रघुवर बिमल जसु जो दायक फल चार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानु के सुमरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहे हरेऊ कलेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमत के संगी कंचन वरन विराज सुवेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र ओ ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मुंह जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिवे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनवे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरी सिंह दिखावा विकट रूप धरी लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरी असुर सहारे रामचंद्र जी के काज संवारे लाए सजीवन लखन जी आए श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए रघुपत कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत संभाई सहस बदन तुमरो यश गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादि ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहां थे कवि कोविद कह सके कहा थे तुम उपकार सुग्रीव वही कीना राम मिलाए राजपद दीना तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्त्र जोजन पर भानु लीलियो ताही मधुर फल जानो प्रभु मुद्रिका मेल मुख माही जलधि लांगय अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवाले होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोग हाँकते कांपे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन कर्म वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लाए सोई अमित जीवन फल पाए चारों जुग प्रताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवाले असुर निकंदन राम दुआरे अस सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता अस पर दीन जान की माता राम रसायन तुमरे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुमरे भजन राम को पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित न धरे हनुमत से ही सब सुख करे संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमरे हनुमत बलबीरा जय 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 हनुमान गुसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई जो सतपार पाठ कर कोई छूटे बंदी मां सुख होई जोए पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होए सिद्धि साखी गौरी सब तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय में डेरा पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूरत रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसो सुरभूप जय श्री राम जय श्री राम जय श्री राम। नमस्कार, अब हम भगवान विष्णु की पूजा प्रारंभ करेंगे। हमने अपना काउंटर अपने हाथ में ले लिया है। एक मंत्र का उच्चारण करेंगे, 11 दफा करेंगे और आप भी अपने हाथ जोड़ लीजिए, नमन करिए भगवान का। और अब हम शुरू करते हैं। ओम नमो वासुदेवाय नमः। 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 तो दोस्तों, आज हमारी पूजा यहीं पे समाप्त होती है और हम अपना दिन शुरू करेंगे। इस आशा के साथ हम आपसे विदा लेते हैं कि आपका दिन मंगलमय हो। हर हर महादेव।
Hello, friends. Let me ask you, is the Big Bang singularity a myth? For decades, Einstein's general relativity and the quantum mechanics have been at war. While Einstein explained the cosmos and the quantum mechanics explain the subatomic, they break down at the very beginning of the time. Enter quadratic gravity, the potential missing piece that could finally unify the physics. In this video, we dive deep into the recent breakthrough in quadratic gravity. Unlike standard general relativity, which leads to impossible singularity, quadratic gravity introduces higher order terms. This mathematical addition might prevent universe from being hitting a zero, suggest a smooth, finite origin of our cosmos. Let us explore this further. For over 100 years, we have lived in Einstein's universe. His theory of general relativity is a masterpiece. It explains how gravity shapes galaxies, bend light, and keep time ticking. But if you rewind the cosmic clock back to 13.8 billion years, Einstein math does not do anything. In fact, it does something terrifying. It breaks down. At the very moment of the Big Bang, the general relativity point to a singularity, a point of infinite density and zero volume. In physics, infinite usually means we have missed something. It's a keep out sign posted by the universe. For decades, we have been looking for a bridge between the smooth curves of Einstein's gravity and the jittery, pixelated world of quantum mechanics. We have tried string theory, loop quantum gravity, and dozens of others, but a new old contender is making a wave, right? That is known as quadratic gravity. Today we are going beyond the Big Bang to see if this mathematical breakthrough is the missing piece of the cosmic puzzle. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, let's move ahead. To understand the solution, we have to understand the failure. Einstein's gravity is based on Einstein-Hilbert action. In simple terms, it says that the matter tells space how to curve, and space tells matter how to move. This works perfectly for planets and stars. But when compress the entire mass of the universe into a smaller space than an atom, gravity becomes infinitely stronger. In the standard model, this leads to mathematical blow-up. This is where the quantum mechanics usually steps in. But gravity is a non-renormalizable factor here, or a component. When physicists try to apply quantum rules to gravity, they get nonsensical result, which are infinite probabilities that makes it impossible to calculate anything. Gravity and quantum mechanics are like two languages that refuse to be translated together. So how does the quadratic gravity fix this? It does something deceptively simple. In Einstein's original equation, the math only cares about the linear curvature of the space. Quadratic gravity says, what if we add the square of that curvature to the equation? In the world of math, these are called the higher derivative terms. At the scale of our solar system, these terms are so tiny they are almost invisible. Einstein's original math still rules the day. But as you get closer to Big Bang, Where curvature becomes extreme, these quadratic turns on and they act like a cosmic buffer. Instead of letting the universe collapse into a single infinite point, these terms create a repulsive effect or smoothing mechanism. Think of it like a car suspension. On a flat road, you don't feel the spring. But when you hit a massive pothole, the big bang, the spring compresses and prevent the car from bottoming out. Quadratic gravity prevents the universe from bottoming out into a singularity. The most exciting part is this theory is renormalizable. In the year 1970, physicist Stella Still provided or proved that by adding these quadratic terms, the infinities in quantum gravity actually cancels out each other. For the first time, we had a version of the gravity that could play by quantum rules. So what does this mean for the Big Bang? If the quadratic gravity is correct, there was no beginning in the way we think of it. There was no point of zero volume. Instead, the universe might have reached a maximum density and then transitioned smoothly or even bounced from a previous state. It suggests a smooth origin, a universe that is finite, calculable, and most importantly, logical. It removes the magic of singularity and replaces it with elegance of higher order geometry. So, is the quadratic gravity the missing piece? It's not without its own problem. Some physicists worry about the ghost, mathematical states that have negative probability, which could then threaten the stability of the theory. But the recent work in phacons and a new mathematical framework are starting to bust these ghosts. We are currently in the golden age of cosmology with new telescopes and the gravitational wave detectors. We are looking closer to the echoes of the Big Bang than ever before. If we find specific pattern in the cosmic microwave background radiation, it might just prove that quadratic gravity was at work in those first few billionth of a second. If Einstein gave us the map of the stars, quadratic gravity might finally give us the map of the beginning. So, what do you think, friends? Did the universe start from nothing, or is it a continuous cycle of geometry? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the deep fabric of reality. My name is CK. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I'd like to share a word about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. हेलो दोस्तों, आपका स्वागत है। नमस्कारम। आज हम अपने बिजनेस सेक्शन में बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट एक सवाल लेके आए हैं। क्या हो अगर ह्यूमंस लूज द एबिलिटी टू लाई? जेनेटिक लेवल पे जो हमारे ह्यूमंस हैं वो झूठ बोलना ही भूल जाए, पॉसिबल ही ना हो। तो इस थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट का हम आज डिस्कशन करेंगे इसके अराउंड, और हम देखेंगे कि अगर ऐसा हो हो सके कि झूठ बोलना हम बंद कर दें, तो सबसे पहले कौन सी इंडस्ट्री बिल्कुल कोलैप्स हो जाएंगी? क्या वो एडवर्टाइजिंग होगी, या कोई पॉलिटिकल कैंपेन, या सेल्स एक्टिविटी जो पूरी तरह कोलैप्स हो जाएगी? और इस फीचर का अगर ऐसा हो सके, जैसे जैसे मैंने बताया, थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट है, अगर ऐसा हो सके तो हमारी दुनिया की अर्थव्यवस्था, इकोनॉमी में क्या इफेक्ट पड़ेगा? तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं और इस चीज का डिस्कशन करते हैं। इमेजिन करें कि आप सुबह उठें और जो सफेद झूठ है वो फिजिकली इम्पॉसिबल ही हो जाए किसी भी इंसान के लिए बोलना। अब आप ऑफिस जाते हैं और आपका बॉस वहां से पूछता है, भाई हाउ वाज योर वीकेंड, आप कैसे, आपके पिछले 2 दिन कैसे थे? आप पोलाइटली, आपको क्या रिप्लाई करना है? आपको रिप्लाई करना है, इट वॉज ग्रेट एंड थैंक्स फॉर आस्किंग। बट इसकी जगह आप बोल देते हैं, अरे भाई आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन बना रहा था, मिजरेबल था, बहुत ही स्ट्रेस में था मैं, आपकी इसी प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए तैयारी करा था, अभी भी स्ट्रेस में हूँ। ऐसा बोलेंगे तो क्या होगा, राइट? तो ऐसा तो हम बोलते नहीं है, हम तो बोलते हैं इट वॉज ग्रेट, आई हैड फन। लेकिन अगर ऐसा हो जाए तो क्या हो? तो अभी इमेजिन करें कि जो जो फिल्टर है, जो झूठ का जो एक फिल्टर हमारी दुनिया में लगा हुआ है, अगर वो हर ट्रांजेक्शन पे लग जाए, हर एडवर्टाइजमेंट पे लग जाए, हर पॉलिटिकल स्पीच में लग जाए, तो क्या हो? तो हम एक एक करके इसको एग्जामिन करते हैं, एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हैं। थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट है ये, और ये इस पे बेस्ड है कि अगर हम झूठ बोलना हमारे लिए पॉसिबल ही ना हो तो कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में सबसे सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्ट पड़ेगा। सबसे पहले लेते हैं टाइटन ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री, जो सबसे बड़ा सेगमेंट है वो है एडवर्टाइजिंग। अब एडवर्टाइजिंग में क्या होता है, ये बोला जाता है कि मतलब एडवर्टाइजिंग इज पार्ट ऑफ मार्केटिंग, आपको सबको पता है। तो मार्केटिंग में ये बोला जाता है कि आर्ट ऑफ परसुएशन है ये। मतलब आप एक ही चीज को रिपीट करते 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 100 दफा करें तो ऐसा लगेगा कि हाँ जी, ये जो कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट है बहुत ही अच्छा है। तो जैसे कि कई प्रोडक्ट होते हैं कि 99.9% जम्प्स रिमूव कर देते हैं, तो 0.1% क्यों नहीं करते, राइट? तो उन्होंने थोड़ी सी गुंजाइश छोड़ी हुई है। हो सकता है कि वो सिर्फ 80% ही करता हो, लेकिन वो सही बता नहीं रहे आपको। इसी तरीके से सबसे बड़ा जो सेगमेंट मेरे हिसाब से है वो वेट लॉस वाला है। वेट लॉस में क्लेम करते हैं ये गोली खा लीजिए और आपके इतने सारे पाउंड, जो आपका वेट है वो कम हो जाएगा। आपको नहीं लगता है कि झूठ है ये, कि अगर आपने अगर गोली खा ली और उससे अगर वजन कम होने लगा तो सारे पतले हो गए होते हैं अभी तक? तो ये सबसे बड़ा झूठ है, इस पे इतनी बड़ी मल्टी बिलियन डॉलर की इंडस्ट्री चल रही है, ठीक है? और ये एडवर्टाइजिंग से चल रहा है। तो आप इस चीज को सोचें अगर, तो हर चीज में, एडवर्टाइजिंग में हर चीज के अंदर बिल्कुल ही व्हाइट लाई, जो सफेद झूठ जिसको हम बोलते हैं, वो परोसा जा रहा है। और हम उसको देख के अपना डिसीजन लेते हैं कि हमें क्या प्रोडक्ट खरीदना है और क्या नहीं। मल्टी ट्रिलियन डॉलर इंडस्ट्री है ये एडवर्टाइजिंग की, दुनिया भर की। और इसके बिना तो हमारी जिंदगी चलती ही नहीं है। हम सारे दिन टीवी देखते रहते हैं, उसमें नए नए प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च होते रहते हैं, सब झूठ पे बेस्ड होते हैं, राइट? अगर सोचिए एडवर्टाइजिंग सच्चाई बोलने लग जाए तो हमारा जो हम परचेजिंग करते हैं, जो हम सामान खरीदते हैं, उसका नजरिया ही, परचेजिंग का जो जो व्यू पॉइंट है वो एकदम चेंज हो जाएगा। और अगर सच ही बोलने लगे सारे के सारे एडवर्टाइजर्स, तो उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा ये आप खुद ही सोचिए, ठीक है? अगर आपके पास कोई और विचार है तो अभी कमेंट करके बताएं। दूसरा जो सेगमेंट है वो है यूज्ड कार सेल्समैन। अब क्या है कि अगर कोई कार बेच रहा है और उसके जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस हैं वो तब तक ही एप्लीकेबल है जब आपके गैराज में कार है। कार आपने बेच दी और वो गैराज से बाहर चली गई, तो वो तो उसके 1 किलोमीटर के बाद जाके उसका कुछ फेल हो जाएगा तो हम रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं है। लेकिन जब तक वो गैराज में थी तो उसका बेस्ट इंजन परफॉर्मेंस था, हर चीज बेस्ट थी। और अगर यूज कार सेल्समैन सच्चाई बोलने लगे कि भाई इसका ट्रांसमिशन फेल होने वाला है, तभी तो ये बिक रही है गाड़ी, तो वो कोई यूज कार खरीदेगा ही नहीं। तो बिल्कुल ही कार के बारे में, बिल्कुल प्रोडक्ट के बारे में बिल्कुल बताते नहीं है सच्चाई से, और मतलब उसको प्रोडक्ट को बेच देते हैं। तो एक हो सकता है ये, मतलब हर चीज में लगता है, मैं एक पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट को लिया है लेकिन ये हर चीज में एप्लीकेबल है। प्रोडक्ट के बारे में सच्चाई से बताते नहीं हैं, और उस सच्चाई की वाइट लाई परोसा जाता है, सफ़ेद झूठ परोसा जाता है, और अगर सच बता देंगे तो वो बैड न्यूज़ हो जाएगा। तो हर चीज़ अच्छी अच्छी बताई जाती है और जिसके बाद प्रोडक्ट बेचा जाता है। तो दोस्तों, अगर आप हमारा इस वीडियो यहाँ तक पहुँचे हैं तो बताइए कि आप किस शहर से हमारा वीडियो देख रहे हैं और किस लैंग्वेज में आप इस वीडियो को देखना पसंद करते हैं। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब मैं तीसरी जो इंडस्ट्री लूँगा वो पॉलिटिक्स लूँगा, क्योंकि आप सब जानते हैं कि पॉलिटिक्स बहुत बड़ा सेगमेंट है जिसमें प्रोफाइलिंग की जाती है और परसेप्शन क्रिएट किया जाता है, जो एक एडवांस फॉर्म है एडवर्टाइजिंग का ही, और एक सेल्स, जैसे बोला ना कार सेल्समैन, उन दोनों का हाइब्रिड है ये पॉलिटिक्स। तो क्या होता है जी इसमें कि जो पब्लिक रिलेशन है वो मेंटेन कर किया जाता है, एक नैरेटिव सेट किया जाता है, बहुत बड़ा एक एडवर्टाइजिंग मार्केटिंग कैंपेन किया चलाया जाता है। उसमें एडवर्टाइजिंग मार्केटिंग कैंपेन के जो फॉर्मूलाज हैं उनको इम्प्लीमेंट करके एक नैरेटिव क्रिएट किया जाता है। नाउ नैरेटिव कैन बी पॉजिटिव, इट कैन बी नेगेटिव, कि टाइम टू टाइम जब पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा जैसा क्रिएट करना है उसी तरह का नैरेटिव क्रिएट किया जाता है। अब आप सोचिए कि नैरेटिव किया जा रहा है कि अगर मेरी सरकार आ गई तो आपका टैक्स माफ कर दूंगा मैं, या ये चीज आपको दे दूंगा। तो आपको लगता है कि ये कभी हो सकता है? अगर किसी ने बोला कि मैं आपका टैक्स कर दूंगा, लेकिन कैसे करूंगा अगर ये बोल दे, तो पॉलिटिकल जो एजेंडा जो क्रिएट करने की कोशिश की जा रही है वो खत्म हो जाएगी, वोट मिलेंगे ही नहीं। तो क्योंकि अगर ये बोल दे कि अच्छा मैंने ये बोल तो दिया कि मैं आपका टैक्स काट दूंगा, लेकिन मुझे कोई आइडिया नहीं है कि मैं कैसे करूंगा, अगर ऐसा बोल दे कोई पॉलिटिशियंस, तो वो तो उसका कैंपेन ही खत्म हो जाएगा, राइट? तो और इसके अलावा ये पूरा एक एम्बैरेसिंग सिचुएशन भी बन जाएगा। ये भी हो जाएगा कि जो गवर्नमेंट है, दुनिया भर की सारे देशों की गवर्नमेंट है, वो उनकी लेजिटिमेसी पे क्वेश्चन, एक प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा हो जाएगा अगर वो सच बता दें। लेकिन ये पूरा का पूरा जो कैंपेन होता है एक वाइट लाई पे बेस्ड होता है, और ये चीज एक कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस पे भी लागू होती है। हर कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस के अंदर हर चीज एक प्रेजेंटेशन की तरह दी जाती है। हमारा वर्किंग एनवायरनमेंट बहुत ही अच्छा है, हमारा खाना बहुत अच्छा है, हमारे होटल का खाना बड़ा अच्छा है। तो इस तरीके की चीजें परोसी जाती हैं। अगर ऑफिस, कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस में अगर सच्चाई का सहारा लेने लगे तो एचआर का जॉब ही खत्म हो जाएगा। जो एचआर है वो हर चीज को बहला फुसला के एम्प्लॉयज को लाते हैं, और अगर किसी को निकालना भी होता है बोलते हैं कि ये तो रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग हो गया जी, रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग में आपकी जॉब चली गई। अगर यहाँ पे ऑनेस्टी दिखाई गई तो कितना बड़ा बवाल हो सकता है इस चीज के अंदर। आप खुद ही सोचिए, जो जोर का झटका जो धीरे से लगता है वो बिकॉज ऑफ वाइट लाई ही लगता है, क्योंकि आदमी को पता ही नहीं चलता कि क्या सच है क्या झूठ है, किस लिए ये हमारे साथ हो रहा है। या तो मेरी तरक्की हो रही है या मेरा डिमोशन हो रहा है, तो क्यों हो रहा है? और अगर ऑफिस बैंकरप्ट हो रहा है तो वो भी इंफॉर्मेशन ठीक तरह से मिलती नहीं है एम्प्लॉयज को। तो ये एक पूरा कंट्रोल्ड तरीके से परोसा जाता है। तो अभी अंत में हम देखते हैं कि अगर व्हाइट लाई, वैसे तो निकलेगा नहीं, हम तो थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं, अगर व्हाइट लाई हमारी लाइफ से, हमारे जेनेटिक लेवल पे, हमारे मेकअप से निकल जाए, पूरे प्रोसेस से निकल जाए, तो वो तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं हो पाएगा। इसके अलावा ऐसी कौन सी इंडस्ट्री है जो सरवाइव करेंगी? अगर व्हाइट लाई निकल गया, झूठ बोलने की ताकत अगर निकल गई, तो ऐसी कौन सी इंडस्ट्री है जो सरवाइव करेंगी? देखिए, वो इंडस्ट्री सरवाइव करेंगी जो सच्चाई पे बेस्ड होती है, जैसे कि इंजीनियरिंग, साइंटिफिक रिसर्च, लॉजिस्टिक्स। यहाँ पे अगर आप स्पिन करेंगे कुछ तो वो तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी। आप ये नहीं बोल सकते कि मैंने ब्रिज बना दिया, बहुत ही अच्छा उम्दा ब्रिज बनाया है मैंने। अगर आपने अच्छा ब्रिज नहीं बनाया, वो तो ग्रेविटी विल बेसिकली प्रूव कि आपने ब्रिज, आपका तो गिर गया, राइट? तो इस तरह की जो इंडस्ट्रीज होती हैं दे विल फ्लरिश। साइंटिफिक रिसर्च, इंजीनियरिंग, ये इनमें तो बहुत ज्यादा उछाल आएगा, क्योंकि ये तो आज की डेट में भी झूठ पे बेस्ड नहीं है, ये तो एब्सोल्यूट क्लैरिटी के ऊपर बेस्ड होती हैं ये सारी कंपनी। और जो भी आपकी ट्रांसपेरेंसी और इस तरह की जो इंडस्ट्री होती है वो सरवाइव करेंगे। जिन पे थोड़ा सा भी रहता है कि कुछ एक नैरेटिव क्रिएट किया जा रहा है, वो सब फ्लॉप हो जाएंगी। तो दोस्तों, आप क्या सोचते हैं कि आपको क्या लगता है कि अगर हमारे हमारे अर्थ से, हमारे सिविलाइजेशन से अगर झूठ बोलने की जो प्रॉपर्टी है वो निकाल दी जाए तो क्या हो? आपके जो भी विचार हैं, आई एम श्योर कि मेरे विचारों से आपके विचार थोड़े अलग होंगे, तो जो भी विचार हैं आप कमेंट करके लिखिए, हमें बताइए, लेट्स हैव ए डिस्कशन। और दिस वाज ओनली अ थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट, और वैसे आपको पता है ये हो नहीं सकता है, लेकिन ये सिर्फ थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट था। और आप इसके बारे में क्या सोचते हैं? आई वुड वेट टू हेयर फ्रॉम यू। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग एंड आई विल catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.
In the heart of San Francisco, Luna AI dared to reimagine shaping with $100,000 gamble on AI managed retail store. Sleek algorithm promised efficiency, but the grand experiment hit a very human snag, that is staffing, and that exposed the limit of automation. What was meant to be a glimpse of the future quickly became a cautionary tale of tech colliding with reality. In San Francisco, the promise of an AI managed retail future took center stage when Luna AI unveiled its flagship store with $100,000 investment. The concept was bold. A retail space where the artificial intelligence would streamline operations, enhance customer experience, and reduce the reliance on traditional management structure. The launch drew attention from both tech enthusiasts and retail analysts, and they were eager to see how the automation could reshape the brick and mortar commerce. Yet, despite the futuristic vision, the store quickly encountered a very human problem: staffing issues. While AI managed inventory, analytics, and customer flow prediction, and day-to-day realities of staffing proved harder to automate. Scheduling conflicts, employee turnover, and the need for human oversight exposed the limitation of purely AI-driven model. The irony was striking. A store designed to minimize the human dependency found itself struggling precisely to become of it. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and which language you are watching this video. This will determine the reach of our channel. So just put some comments about your city also. So now we were talking about the store, and the Luna AI experiment underscores a broader tension in the modern retail. And technology can optimize the process, but it cannot fully replace the adaptability, empathy, and the problem-solving skill of human staff. For investors and entrepreneurs, the lesson is clear. The innovation must balance automation with human capital. So Luna AI's venture may have stumbled, but it has sparked a vital conversation about the future of retail, where the AI and people coexist rather than compete. So Luna AI store shows that even in the world run by algorithm, retail still need human touch. So Luna AI experiment in San Francisco was more than just a store. It was a test of how far automation can carry retail into future. Yet the staffing struggles revealed a truth that technology alone cannot erase the human presence remains, and it also tells us that humans interventions, human presence remains the backbone of customer experience. The venture may have flattered, but it is but it leaves behind a valuable lesson, that the future of retail will not only to AI versus people, but AI working alongside with people. So we have come to the end. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe our channel. But before we go, we have a few words from our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. नमस्कार दोस्तों, आप सभी का स्वागत है। और आज 2 जून का तारीख है आज, और आज तो मंगलवार है। तो आज अपना दिन शुरू करने से पहले हम हनुमान जी की प्रार्थना करेंगे और हम हनुमान चालीसा का पाठ करेंगे। आप भी हमारे साथ जुड़े और हनुमान चालीसा का पाठ करें। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज, निज मन मुकुर सुधार, वर्णव रघुबर बिमल जसु, जो दायक फल चार। बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके, सुमरो पवन कुमार, बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहे, हरेउ क्लेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर, जय कपीस तेहु लोक उजागर। रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा, अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी, कुमति निवार सुमत के संगी। कंचन वरन विराज सुवेसा, कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा। हाथ वज्र ओ ध्वजा बराजे, कांधे मूज जनेऊ साजे। शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन, तेज प्रताप महाजगबंदन। विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर, राम काज करवे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनवे को रसिया, राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। सूक्ष्म रूप धरी सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरी लंक जरावा। भीम रूप धरी असुर सहारे, रामचंद्र जी के काज संवारे। लाए सजीवन लखन जी आए, श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए। रघुपत कीनी बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई। सहस बदन तुमरो यश गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादि ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित अहिसा। जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाँ थे, कवि कोविद कही सके कहाँ थे। तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना, राम मिलाए राजपद दीना। तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। जुग सहस्त्र जोजन पर भानु, लील्यो ताही मधुर फल जानू। प्रभु मुद्रिका मेल मुख माही, जलधि लांघे अचरज नाही। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवाले, होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी सरना, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन ते समारो आपे, तीनों लोग हाँकते कापे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लाए, सोई अमित जीवन फल पाए। चारों युग प्रताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवाले, असुर निकंदन राम दुआरे। अस्सिधि नौ निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुमरे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुमरे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित न धरे, हनुमत से ही सब सुख करे। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सतपार पाठ कर कोई, छूटे बंदी महासुख होई। जो ये पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होए सिद्धि साकी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेरा, कीजिए नाथ हृदय में डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूरत रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसो सुरभू। आपका दिन मंगलमय हो। चलिए आज अपना दिन शुरू करते हैं। नमस्कार।
Well, $60 billion, that's more than the entire valuation of many Fortune 500 companies, right? It's twice what NASA gets in a year, and it is the price tag of a single option. Elon Musk just secured, for SpaceX. Yesterday, the world of aerospace and AI collided. SpaceX officially announced a strategic partnership with Cursor, the AI coding startup that has taken the developer world by storm. But this isn't just a partnership. SpaceX now holds the exclusive right to buy Cursor for 60 billion by the end of 2026. Why would a rocket company, one that just merged with XAI and is targeting a 1.75 trillion IPO, drop that kind of cash on a code editor? Is it just about helping engineers write faster apps, or is this the missing link that finally makes a city on Mars a reality? Today we are deconstructing the SpaceX Cursor deal, the colossal supercomputer, and why the road to the red planet is now paved with billions of lines of AI generated code. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, let's proceed with our analysis. If you aren't a developer, you might not realize how big Cursor has become. It's a fork of the VS Code, but it has been rebuilt from the ground up with AI at its core. It pioneered what enthusiasts call the vibe coding, the ability to describe a complex feature in plain English and watch the AI architect the entire file structure, logic, and test in seconds. And therefore, we need to consider this statistics. ARR, over 2 billion today, projected to hit 6 billion by year end. And what is the reach? Used by over 50% of the Fortune 500 company. And what is the most important thing? It is not just a chatbot. It is a tool that understands your entire code base. SpaceX isn't just buying a tool. They are buying the distribution channel to the world's best engineers. But there is a catch. SpaceX has two choices: pay 10 billion for a joint development partnership, or pay $60 billion for the whole thing. It's a try before you buy deal at a galactical scale. To understand why this matters, we have to look at the hardware. Back in the February 2026, SpaceX merged with XAI. In that merger, SpaceX inherited Colossus, the world's most powerful AI training cluster running on roughly 1 million NVIDIA H100 equivalents. Before this deal, Cursor was a bottleneck by the computing power. They were using model from OpenAI and Anthropic. But now Cursor is moving into the SpaceX family. They get direct access to Colossus. Imagine taking the world's most intuitive coding interface and plug-in it to the world's largest supercomputer. We are talking about training a personal super intelligent specifically for engineering. This isn't about building another Grok for Twitter. It's about building an AI that can design a Raptor engine, simulate orbital mechanics, and debug the flight software of a starship in real time. Elon Musk has often said that the hardest part of Starship isn't that rocket, it is the machine that built the machine. To put a million people on Mars by 2050, you need thousands of starships. You need autonomous propellant plants on Martian surface. You need life support system that never fails. The software complexity required to manage a multi-planetary logistics chain is mind-boggling. Currently, writing that software takes thousands of human engineers and millions of man-hours. But with Cursor integrated into SpaceX stacks, accelerated prototyping will be a reality. AI can generate ground control software for the 2028 lunar mission in a fraction of time. It can also achieve autonomous debugging. On a 6-month journey to Mars, you can't wait for a patch from Earth. The ship's AI need to find a fix on its own and also debug the whole software. Next, it is going to create a stairway to Mars. This acquisition suggests that SpaceX is pivoting from being a launch provider to vertical tech stack. Their own internet, which is Starlink, their own AI, which is XAI. Now it could be Cursor also, and the transport, which is the Starship. Let's talk about money. This deal comes just as SpaceX prepare for its rumored 2026 IPO. Analysts are targeting a listing valuation of 1.75 trillion. By securing Cursor, SpaceX is signaling to Wall Street that they aren't just a transportation company, they are deep tech, combination of various companies. If they can prove that their AI integrated engineering can cut the cost of reaching Mars by 90%, a 60 billion acquisition start to look like a bargain. However, not everyone is convinced. Critics point to the anthropic shock earlier this year that wiped billions of IT giants. They ask if this a visionary move or is it another overvaluation in a red hot AI market. Whether SpaceX Cursor buys the Cursor for $60 billion or stay in a $10 billion partnership, one thing is clear. The future of space exploration is no longer just about fuel and physics. It's about intelligence. If Starship is the body that takes us to stars, the AI acquisition is the brain. We are watching the birth of the company that controls the physical and the digital infrastructure of the next century. So friends, what do you think? Is $60 billion fair price for the key to the red planet, or is the AI bubble reaching escape velocity? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into technology shaping our future. I'm CK and I will see you again in the next one. Before I go, I like to say a few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
Friends, a very big question that we want to address today is, are we alone or are we just being watched? For decades, we have scanned the stars for signals, but new speculation from SETI and leading astrophysicists suggest a chilling possibility. It is already too late to hide. While we search for them, humanity has spent the last century broadcasting our presence to the cosmos.
In this video, we dive deep into the great silence and why the latest breakthrough in techno-signatures and planetary direction suggests that any advanced civilizations within 100 light years likely to already know Earth is a home to an industrial civilization. Let us explore this further. Hello friends, how did the India turn thousands of kilometers of concrete into a massive financial engine? In this video, we break down India's ambitious 35,000 crore highway asset monetization strategy for year 27, which is next year 2027. The National Highway Authority of India is leveraging Infrastructure Investment Trust and the toll operate transfer TOT model to recycle public assets by monetizing 28 national highway stretches span over 1,800 kilometers. The government is creating a sustainable revenue stream to fund the future infrastructure development across the country. Let us learn more about it. Imagine you own a house, but instead of just living in it, you could rent out a spare room to earn enough money to build a second house. That is essentially what India is doing with its highway. Welcome back. Today we are diving into a massive financial strategy, how the National Highway Authority of India, which is NHAI, is turning thousands of kilometers of concrete into 35,000 crore cash ATM. This isn't just about collecting tolls, it's a sophisticated blueprint for modern infrastructure development known as asset monetization. Let's break down how it works. So, friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. To understand the 35,000 crore figure, we have to look at the National Monetization Pipeline or NMP launched in 2021. The NMP is a government initiative to unlock the value of existing brownfield infrastructure assets. Think of it this way. The government has already spent billions building these highways. Once they are operational, they don't need to be built anymore. They need to be maintained. Government realized they could invite private investors to take over the operations of these complete road, and in exchange, the government gets an upfront lump sum of cash. This cash is then recycled to build new roads, bridges, and expressway. It's a perpetual cycle of growth. So how do they actually move the money? NHAI primarily use two powerful mechanisms. First, we have the toll operate transfer model, which is TOT model. Under TOT, the government grants a private player the right to collect tolls and maintain highway stretch for a specific period, usually 20 years. The private player pays the government a massive upfront fee for this right. It's a win-win. The investor gets stable long-term returns and the government gets immediate capital. Second, we have an infrastructure investment trust or INVITs. Think of it of an INVITs like a mutual fund but for roads. NHAI pools several operational highway assets into a trust and offer units to investors, from large pension fund down to retail individuals. Investor get regular dividend from toll revenue collected, and NHAI gets the capital to fund new massive projects. In fact, just this year, the maiden public issue of NHAI Rajmarg Investment Trust was oversubscribed 14 times, proving massive investor confidence. Now, a common question is, does this mean toll will skyrocket? Answer is no. The user fee are strictly regulated under a national highway fee rules. Furthermore, the government has built-in oversight. The agreement includes independent traffic surveyors, strict audit requirements for escrow accounts, and performance monitoring to ensure that the private concessionaries don't prioritize short-term profit at the cost of public goods. The goal isn't to gouge drivers, it's to make the entire ecosystem more efficient and more transparent. This isn't a one-time project. Under the National Monetization Pipeline or Policy 2.0, the government has identified highway assets worth about 4 lakh crores to be monetized through by 2030. For the current year, which is 26-27, the target is specifically 35,000 crores involving just 28 highways spanning over 1,800 kilometers. By shifting away from traditional budget dependency and moving towards market-driven financing, India is setting a global standard for how a country can leverage its own infrastructure to build a stronger economic future. From an asset-heavy government to an asset-light facilitator, India's approach to highways is changing. So, what do you think, friends? Is this the right way to fund our nation's growth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into Indian economy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining live. I will catch you again in the next one. But before I leave, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now,
well, stop imagining. On April 20th, 2026, the media landscape shifted on its axis. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholder officially voted to approve a massive $110 billion merger with Paramount Skydance. It is a deal that essentially kills the streaming war, as we know them from the last decade. We aren't just looking at another merger, we are looking at the birth of media titans specifically designed to survive the wreckage of the peak TV era. But this wasn't a smooth ride. It involved a hostile bid, a rejected offer from Netflix, and a shareholder revolt over executive payouts that would make Roman Emperor blush. Today we are breaking down the WBD Paramount power play. What happens to the Max and Paramount Plus? Why does the shareholder reject David Zaslav's massive bonus? And most importantly, how does this affect your subscription bill? So friends, if you have reached this far, please let us know from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Now, let's talk money. Paramount Skydance, led by David Allison, is acquiring 100% of the Warner Brothers Discovery. The price tag, what is this price tag? It is $31 per share in cash. When you factor this WBD significant debt, the total enterprise value hit a staggering $111 billion. This wasn't WBD's first choice. Earlier this year, Netflix actually tried to swoop in 72 billion bid for just the studio and the streaming assets. But Paramount went for the all or nothing strategy. They didn't just want the movies, they wanted the cable network, the news, and the sports. By February 27th, Netflix blinked. They cited capital discipline and walked away. Paramount, backed by Ellison family, which is, of course, you know Ellison, right? The Larry Ellison family. Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle, also very famous entrepreneur, globally known. And Redbird Capital. They both stepped up with the cash. WBD shareholders are now overwhelmingly given their blessings with 1.7 billion votes in favor. However, the deal isn't closed yet. It's expected to finalize in Q3 of 2026, pending some very intense regulatory scrutiny. So what does this mean? It's all about synergy. The goal here is to create a next generation media company. Think about the intellectual property, which is IP library, they now control together as one entity. We're talking about DC Universe meeting Mission Impossible, right? The Game of Thrones alongside Star Trek, SpongeBob, SquarePants, Sesame Street under one banner. But the biggest change for us as a consumer, the super streamer, managed managed by the combined entity, and the people who are going to manage this whole thing have already hinted that Max and Paramount Plus will eventually merge into a single platform. For the companies, this saves billions, specifically 6 billion annually by this change. Alright, so they no longer have to pay for the two separate tech stacks, two marketing departments, or two set of overhead. For the viewer, it means one app to rule, to view all of them, to rule all of them. But it also means less competition, which historically lead to, you guessed it, price hike. So if there is no competition, they have consolidated the market. They are free to put any price tag, whatever they want, right? There is no pressure from the market. So if there is one thing that keeps the lights on the old media, it's the live sports. And this merger creates an absolute juggernaut. Combined, WBD and Paramount now holds the right to the NFL via CBS, NCAA March Madness, NHL and MLB championship leagues, the Olympic internationally, and the PGA tours and UFC. In a world where Amazon and Apple are trying to buy their way into sports, this combined entity becomes the must-have partner for every major league. They have the broadcast reach of CBS for the big games and streaming flexibility of Max for everything else. This is their shield against Netflix, which has only recently started dipping in its toes into live events. Now, let's get to the spicy part. While the shareholder loved the deal, they hate the exit packages. WBD CEO David Zaslav, a man often criticized for his aggressive cost-cutting and vaulting of completed films, was lined up for a golden parachute worth $850 million as an exit for himself. At the special meeting on April 23rd, shareholders voted forcefully against these executive payouts. 1.4 billion votes were casted against the compensation packages. Now, here is the kicker. The vote is non-binding. Technically, board can still pay him, but the message is clear. Hollywood creators and investors alike are tired of seeing massive executive bonuses while the industry suffers through layoffs and budget cuts. Even Hollywood legends like Denis Villeneuve and David Fincher signed an open letter opposing the consolidation, fearing it will lead to fewer choices and less creative freedom. So, is the deal done? Not quite. The US Department of Justice and the UK regulatory bodies are currently looking at this with a magnifying glass. Senators like Elizabeth Warren have already called it an antitrust disaster that threatens to raise prices for American families. If the deal doesn't close by September 30th, a ticking fee, kick in Paramount will have to pay WBD shareholders an extra 25 cents per share every quarter. It's a massive incentive to get across the finish line fast. The streaming war started as a race to see who could spend most money to get the most subscribers. This merger proves that the race is over. The new game is now known as survival. By joining forces, WBD and Paramount aren't trying to win the war, they're trying to make sure they are the last ones standing. So, what do you think, friends? Is this a super streamer you have been waiting for, or are we just watching the slow death of a variety in Hollywood? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on the most massive media mergers of our lifetime. And I will see you again in the next one. Before I go, a word about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. नमस्कार दोस्तों, आप सबका स्वागत है। और हर रोज की तरह हम अपना दिन शुरू करेंगे भगवान की पूजा करके। तो आज तो शुक्रवार है, आज का दिन देवी जी के लिए समर्पित है, माँ लक्ष्मी के लिए। तो आज हम अपना दिन शुरू करेंगे लक्ष्मी जी की पूजा करके। एज ऑलवेज मैंने काउंटर लिया हुआ है, ये मुझे सहायता करता है जाप करने में। हम एक छोटे से मंत्र का 11 दफा उच्चारण करेंगे, रिसाइटेशन करेंगे। आप हमारे साथ जुड़ें और इस छोटे से मंत्र का हमारे साथ जोड़ के रिसाइटेशन करें, आपको काफी फायदा होगा। तो चलिए हाथ जोड़ लीजिए, लक्ष्मी जी का नमन कर लीजिए और मेरे साथ रिपीट करिए। 11 दफा करना है, ध्यान रहे। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री 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 सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध लक्ष्मी नमः। तो इसके साथ हमारे 11 दफा रिसाइटेशन लक्ष्मी जी का जो जाप हमने किया वो संपन्न हुआ और अब हम अपना दिन शुरू कर सकते हैं। आपका भी दिन शुभ रहे। तो इसी कामना के साथ हम इस वीडियो को समाप्त करते हैं, लेकिन जल्दी ही मिलते हैं दूसरे वीडियो में।
In an era where the artificial intelligence debates blur the line between mind and machine, the voice of an ancient sage still echoes with a startling clarity. I'm talking about Rishi Kapil, the father of Sankhya philosophy, who once declared that existence is woven from two eternal threads. One is Purush, that means pure consciousness, and the another is Prakriti, that means nature. 25 centuries later, his vision feels uncannily modern. So let's find out more about this philosophy.
Friends, we have all heard about the India's largest pharmaceutical company, that is Sun Pharma, also known as Sun Pharmaceutical Industries. And this company has just announced a massive acquisition which is worth 11.75 billion US dollars. Sun Pharma has acquired US based Organon and Company, making one of the largest outbound deals in Indian history. In this video, we break down why Sun Pharma is betting big on the US market and what this means for investors and the global healthcare landscape. Let's discuss this further. In the world of global pharmaceuticals, 11.75 billion isn't just a number, it's a statement. On April 26, 2026, India's largest drug maker, Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, didn't just make a deal, they redrew the map of global healthcare. Sun Pharma has officially entered a definitive agreement to acquire US-based Organon and Company for an enterprise value of 11.75 billion US dollars. This isn't just the biggest deal in Sun Pharma's 40 years history, surpassing even the legendary Ranbaxy and Taro acquisitions. It is one of the largest outbound acquisitions ever attempted by an Indian pharmaceutical company. But why now? Why Organon, a company only spun off from Maersk 5 years ago? And why is the stock market reacting with such intensity? Today we are breaking down the strategy, the math, and the global power play that just put Sun Pharma into the global top 25. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, let's proceed further. To understand the deal, you have to understand the target. Organon isn't your average pharmaceutical startup. It was birthed in 2021 as a strategic spin-off from the global giant Maersk and Company. Organon was created to house Maersk's legacy brands, but more importantly to lead in area Maersk wanted to de-emphasize, things like women's health and biosimilars. Today, Organon is a powerhouse with a portfolio of over 70 products commercialized in more than 140 countries. We are talking about massive households, named franchises and contraception and fertility like Nexopalnan and NuvaRing. They also have their burgeoning biosimilar businesses, essentially high-tech generic versions of expensive biologic drugs. Before the deal, Organon was doing roughly 6.2 billion in annual revenue, but they carried a heavy burden. Nearly 8.6 billion in debt left over from the spin-off. That debt made them a target, and Sun Pharma, Dilip Sanghvi saw an opportunity where others saw a risk. For decades, Sun Pharma was known as the generic giant. They were the kings of making affordable versions of off-patent drugs. But the generic market in the US has become a race to the bottom, with shrinking margins and intense competition. Sun Pharma's managing director Kirti Ganorkar has been very clear. The future is in innovation and specialty medicine. This acquisition accelerates that shift by decade. And here are the three pillars of this deal. Number one is the women health leadership. This deal instantly makes Sun Pharma a top 3 global player in women's health. This is a sticky market with high patent loyalty and consistent demand. Number 2 is biosimilar leap. Sun Pharma was previously a minor player in biosimilars. Now they jump to the 7th largest biosimilar player globally. In a world where biological drugs are most expensive part of the healthcare, having a biosimilar engine is like owning a gold mine. Number 3 is the global commercial footprint. Sun Pharma has already had a presence in the US and India, but Organon gives them boots on the ground in 150 countries, including high growth markets like China, Brazil, and major European hubs where Sun Pharma was previously underweight. So now let's talk about money. Sun Pharma is paying $14 per share in all cash deal. So let's break down this $14, what it comprises of. So enterprise value 11.75 billion, equity value 4 billion, and total revenue of 12.4 billion combined. So 12.4 billion. And there is a funding, internal cash plus they have taken a loan from Citibank, JP Morgan, and MUFG for this acquisition. Now some analysts were worried Sun Pharma is taking on nearly 10 billion in new debt to make this happen. For a company that has traditionally been cash rich, this is a cultural shift. However, the magic math here is the profits. Organon generates incredible cash flow, nearly 1.9 billion in adjusted profit before tax. By combining the two, Sun Pharma expects to nearly double its cash flow. This allows them to pay down the massive debt quickly. The projected net debt to profit ratio is 2.3x, which in pharma's world is considered very, very manageable. So how did the market take it now? Initially, Organon shares surged over 15% just as soon as the news came out, while Sun Pharma saw a relief rally of 7 to 9%. While the relief, because investors finally saw that Sun Pharma was going to do with its massive cash pile. For years, shareholders asked, when will you make a big move? And this is that move now. But it's not all sunshine. There are risks also. The biggest risk is integration. Merging two companies of this size across 150 countries is logistical nightmare. Cultural fit. Moving a US headquartered Maersk legacy culture into Indian managed global giants takes time. And then lastly, regulatory hurdles. The deal isn't expected to close until early 2027. That's a long time for regulators, especially in the US, EU, and China, to magnify, they take the magnifying glass to basically examine the deal. So now my final verdict is Sun Pharma's acquisition of Organon is more than just a business transaction. It is a signal that Indian pharma has outgrown its pharmacy of the world label. They are no longer just the world's manufacturer. They are becoming world's innovator and owner of the global brands. If this deal succeeds, the Sun Pharma of 2030 will look less like a generic company from Mumbai and more like a global titan like Pfizer or Novartis. So friends, what do you think? Is 11.75 billion deal a fair price for the global dominance, or has Sun Pharma bitten off more than it can chew? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and for more deep dives into the deals that move the world, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Before I part ways, a word about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base. which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.